Hello and welcome to the Big 12 Mafia College Football Mafia Show. I am your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me are my three partners, and we'll continue to say in crime because I kind of feel like we're stealing from other people's time right now. That would be the Wild Ute, Immaculate, and Moen. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Doing good.
You're muted. You
You
can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you for some reason. I hope everybody's ready and buckled up. We're going to be talking college football playoff. Obviously, there's a bunch of conversations, specifically the one started over the weekend with Josh Pate. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to run through everybody's ideas. So buckle up. We're going to be here for probably at least 2 hours. Get your ideas. Be writing them down. Put them in the comment section. My guys are going to be flagging them. We're going to talk about them as we go through these because we actually have our team did them. And then I've had a couple others that people have contributed as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Make sure you follow us all on Twitter. And then last but not least, certainly not least, is turn on your notifications. That way we know, when our shows are coming. And you can absolutely tell when we're having our posts on Twitter. All right. Let's get some shout outs since we got people here right away. Let's do that. Buckshot Kid says, oh, hey, guys. He was way early, 11:15 this morning, my time. That's awesome. Nathan says, hi, guys. Nice to have you here, Nathan. Nathan Campbell, one of our members, says, question mark, what conference will be the first Frankenstein conference? Who wants to answer that right now?
Well, the Big 12 already is.
Kind of.
A Frankenstein? No.
What
in
a
a good way.
4 G5s. They pulled up
way.
4 Pac-12s. I mean,
it's just something that's pieced together from, like, you got the original 8, then you got the 4 coming in from the AAC,
right,
and BYU. Sorry, I don't mean that. But then you got the 4 Pac, and now you're looking to get maybe 4 from the ACC. It is, and that's not like insulting, but I think he's right. Like the Big 12 is kind of the Frankenstein conference.
What do you think, you?
Yeah, what about the ACC grabbing Cal and Stanford? That seems pretty
To a
Frankenstein
degree.
to me, and SMU.
But that's
I would
just
argue
one.
the ACC is more Frankenstein than the Big 12.
It's kind of a compliment, though.
Hopefully we send him to the North Pole and kill him, Ute. That's what we want. We want the Frankenstein to die. All right, let's keep it going. Dan Melter, one of our members, says, I don't know why they would try a 16 team more than 2 years. After that, I think these conferences will be so large in numbers that a conference tournament will exist. Then a 4-team college football playoff. You're already somebody's over here has been talking about this for literally 2 years, long before even our show came around. So we'll get to that. Just hold your water, Dan. That's coming, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to give them all kinds of time to talk about it. Joe Z's in here. The Big Lubbock. Big Lubbock, you're not a member anymore. What are you going to do about it? Come on, man. Carrie says, hey, Nathan, I didn't mean to run you off the other night. We didn't need Jen that bad. Oh, well, I had to go. How did Jen do?
She did pretty good. She had crowd going pretty well. It was a good call.
Well, she's a stud. I might as well do an announcement tonight. So tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing a show with Jen. Moen is taking a step back, sort of putting some time to other projects. And so it's going to be me and Jen tomorrow. I'm sure it won't run near as well with Moen gone, but it should be fun. So tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, join me and Jen, and who else knows? We're going to be talking ACC, Florida State, legal, realignment, whatever. So tomorrow night, 8 p.m. All right, let's see here.
Danielle.
What's that?
So try and get Danielle. That'd be quite a combo, you three.
For sure. Timothy Green, you're not green anymore, brother. We need that membership logo back on there, man. He says, all right, college football fans, let's get ready for another great show. Appreciate you being around, Timothy Green. That membership is really cool. I know you used it because you were watching some of those videos that we did. In fact, there's one going right now. What's the video we currently have available to our members right now?
The Miami freaking Hurricanes. Are they a fit for the Big Ten or not? They're the most up and down candidate we've looked at. And yeah, take a look at the video, see what you think too. Again, really polar. Ups, then downs. And where do they fit at the end of the day? You'd have to make that judgment yourself. So check it out.
And here we go. This is actually what it looks like. The one that's currently locked, I need to refresh this, is the new one we just did, which is Miami, which is this one. Miami to the Big Ten. What's that look like? In the past, we did North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State. And we talked about private equity. And then, of course, we started it all off with does FSU fit. If you're a member, you get this stuff early. That's all I can say. But you does a great job. And, yeah, we just really appreciate that. All right.
Who's next, you?
Georgia Tech's next.
Oh, okay.
Cheers, guys.
It's all coming
All right.
together.
If you're new to the
coming
channel,
together.
Georgia Tech's a drinking game. Drink if it's legal, and definitely don't drive after the show. All right, let's get to some more people here. Carrie, one of our members says, and I don't hate the Big 12. I was just talking fire from a Big 12 fan, so I had to go for the jugular. Not
Hey,
sure
you
what Carrie's talking about, but
You gotta do what you gotta do, though.
yeah, hey, we support you all the way. Jan Hulk says, hey, people, all the way from Slovenia. Jan, you're not a member anymore. You know what to do. You got to do this, man. In fact, I'm going to quit talking about it, and I'm just going to run the video so everybody knows how they can become members of the Big 12 Mafia family. Let me do this off there. Make sure it's clear. All right, here we go.
Want to become a member of the College Football Mafia family? Simply select the Join button from our homepage. There are several options with their own unique benefits to choose from. You can also set yourself to auto-accept gifted membership by selecting the gift settings options as shown.
All right, there we go. Thanks to Moen for doing that. Appreciate you putting that video together, Moen.
Nice job.
All right, let's get to some more comments here. Let's see. So we were at, I think, Jan is where we left off. Glenn Lumen, all the way from the Philippines.
From
let's
Slovenia
see
to the
here.
Philippines.
I know. We are international,
Global.
baby. We've also got a couple of UK people. So, yeah, we're definitely international. Glenn Lumen has a question here. Good morning from the mountains of Mindanao in the Philippines. And then he asks, will the dominoes ever stop falling? Who wants to answer that?
Go ahead, Immaculate.
Someday, that day will come.
That day will come eventually.
Unfortunately, we cannot tell you when that is.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit.
All right, we got a super chat here from Carrie. Carrie's a member and does super chat. Thank you very much, Carrie. Very generous. He says, why does everyone keep talking Miami? They rent their stadium and can't even fill it.
This is what I tried to say, but
Yeah.
I got outvoted.
And
I know.
if you didn't catch the show on Sunday, Carrie actually paid for this week's bottle of whiskey. So thank you, Carrie.
Carrie,
did?
Georgia Tech.
He did.
Oh
on
my
fire.
gosh.
he was
We
on fire.
crowdfunded the Crown Fund.
Are you serious? Way to go, Carrie.
Okay, there's things
Georgia
I
Tech
need.
to
Did we
you.
crowdfund the things I need? There's lots of stuff I need.
Hey, priorities, Bomber.
Look, I'm here for the community. It's you people that are ripping them off for stuff like Crown Royal. All right.
Rip off.
If he runs out of crown, we run out of all the background stuff. So
I know. I forgot another thing. Just in case you didn't know, Liverpool over the weekend won the Carabao Cup, which was a pretty big deal. If you're not following in English Premier League soccer, you're missing out, man. There's some really fun activities that go along with that, and I'm definitely a support of Liverpool again. So we'll go from there. All right.
Let's answer Carrie's question, though.
Go
He's
ahead,
asking
yeah,
about
go ahead.
Miami, and he might have been joking here. He
Go
might
ahead.
not have been joking,
I
too,
don't
because
think
it's a
he
good
is.
question.
I think he's a
Yeah,
Florida
he
State
might
fan.
not be. Well, yeah, I mean, so, yeah, why would you add Miami? They're so up and down. You guys, the Miami brand's strong, though. The brand itself, is one of the top brands out there. And so as far as, brand upside, Miami's got a lot of it. The greater Miami population is 6 million people. I know the DMA is 2 million approximately, as far as your households with TV sets watching games. But there's upside there with just the population, plus travel destination, plus everything that Miami offers as far as the beach and sun and fun, the brand equity of the city, and also the history of the Miami football program. They offer a lot. They've won multiple national championships, have Heisman Trophy winners. So Miami does bring a lot to the table for the Big Ten Conference. Whether or not the most slam dunk candidate of all, they certainly are a fit.
Don't give it all away.
Yep.
We want him to join and watch the video. Jeez.
Well, I got to play a sounder for Carrie anyway.
Okay, go
'cause-
ahead.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook.
Oh boy, you got a 2 for there, Carrie. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for the super chat. All right, moving right along. We have Rock Chalk who's here. He says, "I agree with you, Carrie, but there's this jerk on Twitter who thinks Miami is God's gift to Earth. Who is that? Who's he talking about? Immaculate, you should know. You're really dialed into that stuff.
As far as who the jerk is, I'm not quite sure. I would have thought maybe. I got to tell you, Rock Chalk gets a lot of folks coming at him, so I think maybe I know, but I don't know for sure. Rock Chalk is very active on Twitter.
All right, Rock Chalk. If you
You'll
want
tell
us
us
to
who that
name
is.
him, we will. You'll have to let us know who he is, though. Rock Chalk says, "Nathan, surprised you're not in Lawrence for the KU BYU game." Yeah, again, you guys want to crowdfund it? I'll go next year. You guys pay for my flight, the rental car, and the hotel. I don't even need the hotel. Just give me the rental car and the flights. I'd be good. I appreciate you asking, though, Rock Chalk. Thank you very much. Let's see here. We'll get to some more comments. Don Scruggs says, "What's up, y'all? SEC fan here." All right,
Don, what fan are you of? Then?
Yeah, which
SEC fan? Yeah.
Did he say which one is it?
Yeah, we need to find that.
Okay, yeah, I thought you said he typed it. Tell us what you are, because we're looking for SEC fans.
Maybe he's just an SEC fan.
So post it. If you have a
There you go.
please follow,
There
please
is no team.
let us know who that is, Don. Because yeah, we are working on building out the SEC Mafia world and landscape and getting to know people down there. So I appreciate.
He's a Georgia fan.
Oh, UGA, I love Georgia. Georgia got screwed last year. Screwed.
New
Life
Alabama.
is good, though.
I don't know.
Life is real good as a Georgia fan.
There's a new Alabama.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's keep going. Oh, Jan Hoke says congrats to Liverpool. I appreciate that, Jan. Preseason champions. OHIO. What's that spell?
Ohio.
Oh, there we go. I'm glad that worked out. We didn't practice that, people. Preseason champions says, seems like a small amount of USF smoke to backfill Florida for the ACC. Before I get you guys' opinions, I will just say Jim Williams was more active today on Twitter than he has been in probably, since the Israeli-Hamas war. So,
there was one other day, but yeah, this was quite a heavy day for him.
He is a USF grad, just so everybody knows, and he cares very much about his alma mater, and he does want him to get into the ACC. What do you guys think about that idea?
You have to add somebody. If you lose Florida State and Miami, you have to have a school in Florida. And USF is probably the best option for you.
Certainly the cheapest. They come in at a third share or something.
And they're building a new stadium, so
Right.
I mean they're putting money out there.
Recent AAU edition.
Totally agree.
I have them listed as my number one G5
right now. Really?
Yeah.
Just because of Florida and everything else to go.
I think they're good for both the Big 12 and the ACC, and that's who a G5 is for. It's not for the Big 10. It's not for the SEC. They don't matter. Right. So you got to say, what does the Big 12 want? What does the ACC want? I think USF has done such a fantastic job in addressing both. They've got the AAU for ACC. Like you're saying, if they lose Florida schools, it's back up for that. In terms of the Big 12, they're building the stadium, and they're a natural rival for UCF. So if you want to double up in Florida as the Big 12, I don't know how you could find another G5, in my opinion, that comes even close in value for USF in terms of the two conferences that they should try to sell themselves to. I think that they've done a tremendous job.
I think you've nailed it, immaculate. I think that for the ACC, especially if they lose Florida State and Miami, it's a no-brainer, complete no-brainer. AA status, Tampa is a huge market. You got Tampa, St. Pete right there. It's growing. Like there's a lot to offer. I mean, the Bulls fan base isn't great. Jim's great, but there's not a huge amount of USF fans out there. So that's something that probably would have to improve, over time. You think with an ACC ad, it makes sense. But for the ACC, it's a slam dunk. You got to go there, offer a half or third share.
Absolutely.
And then take them for the Big 12. I don't see that really making a lot of sense because the Big 12 is trying to add to the pie and add and really look for creative ads here. And I just don't see USF being a creative for the Big 12.
Not right now. But say you lost some schools. Should that
If we
happen?
lost UCF, yes.
I mean, like, there's a future. Like, I just think that USF is valuable to ACC sooner than it is to the Big 12, but they're set up for either or. Like, it's they should get into one or the other at some point in time, in my opinion.
I think the Big 12 right now, at least, I think that San Diego State making this a real Frankenstein conference. Like, I think San Diego would be a little bit more high in the pecking order than USF at the moment. But again, if you lose UCF, then all bets are off.
All right. That's a great discussion. I do believe I think UTSA is also attractive. As somebody could come in and be really cheap, but has a huge upside, right? Because of Texas. So
there you go, Big Ten. Grab those Roadrunners right there. The Big Ten and the Roadrunners.
You know what's interesting is normally we were talking about during realignment, we thought San Diego could be an anchor because it's California, Southern California, and there's some decent programs there, and yet USF's getting a bunch of run. UTSA, I'm actually seeing stuff on. San Diego, you know, there's guys that are San Diego homers that I like, I support. I try to, you know, put their ideas forward, but there's not a lot of smoke around San Diego anymore.
You know, the thing is, if you only have one suitor, you don't have to really rush into it.
Right.
But
That's true.
If you have two suitors, if there's someone else, and at some point in time, I would love to get into the stuff that's going on with the G5. Not tonight, but in the future. I think that this is starting to heat up, and that's where we're going to see a lot of that. We're going to look at who might have two conferences looking at them and be the first ones to get grabbed. And this is one of those situations where having two potential conferences looking at you, I think there's to some effect, and maybe you could talk about this a little bit better, but like a multiplying effect of your value, because you don't know how hard those others are looking at them. So it's kind of, do you want to chance it? So that's my thoughts on USF, why they're so valuable right now.
Let's get to a couple more comments, and then we'll jump into our realignment college football playoff discussion. So Tony Lawson, good to have you here, Tony. Again, we need that membership tag next to your name, man. Yukon, men and women's basketball make money. So let's speak about Yukon for just 1 second. When we thought there might be a chance for them to get either into the ACC or the Big 12 during the summer, the smoke was around that they would build around basketball and football would have to either not be added, not come with it. So it's just a basketball ad, or basically it's something they put football in abeyance for a few years until it's up and running like it needs to be again. So since then, just like San Diego State, just like USF, what have we heard, if anything, about Yukon?
Well, first off, just to clarify for me, I don't consider Yukon, just when I said USF the number one, I don't consider Yukon to be a G5. They're an indie. So, but in terms of their value, I think it's very strong if you were to compare it to G5s. But if you were to try to add them right now, you're probably going to run into the same problem with SMU. Like, are they going to not get the votes in order to have the full CFP payout? Then again, what's the CFP even going to be? But I think there's considerable value. Even if they're not doing great in football, they have a football program. And for value, they have an amazing men's and women's basketball. So it's one of those teams where you don't care if they do bad in football.
Right.
And give you losses for teams that you want to get wins, because they're making up their value on the back end with basketball.
Makes sense. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
Yeah, they give you the New York market too.
They help
Northeast.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's move it right along.
Yukon gives you the New York market.
Oh, absolutely.
Yukon
helps. It helps.
Oh yeah, you bet it does.
A little bit.
Connecticut is like a bedroom community. It's like Draper to Salt Lake, So it's just like,
I've been to Connecticut before, but I didn't know it delivered
New York City.
Yeah,
I mean,
most
I know it
people who live
delivers
in Connecticut actually commute to New York for work.
I have some experience with
high level people.
Connecticut drivers. I'm sorry if you're from Connecticut, but like I said, you are the worst drivers in all of America. And it's okay because I know why. It's because you all drive home from New York City every single day.
I thought everybody took the train.
I had to drive up there one time. I got to tell you, man, I've never seen crazier crap than what happens on that road. Those poor people having to drive home every single day. I get it. But yeah, they're all New Yorkers that live in Connecticut.
A few more comments here. Connor Johnson, obviously an OSU. That would be Beaver. He says, "Go Beavs." Good to have you here. Good to see you, Connor. Daniel Gygax says USF didn't offer a lot to the old Big East. That
It's
was
true.
before, right?
They have
That was
come a
before the
long
football
ways. He's right.
stadium and all that stuff. So
Yeah, they've had a new changeover in their leadership all the way up at the top. And speaking of Jim Williams, that's a good person to sometime talk to about everything they've done there because he knows about it all. And he is pretty well connected. It's like stuff that he says, like you're saying, take it with a grain of salt, but he is having conversations.
And then one more comment here for you. Daniel Gygax says, but men's basketball is 20% of football money.
Sure.
That's exactly what you don't add Yukon, guys, in my view. You cannot add a basketball school till you know the ACC. If you have no chance of getting a football school in the ACC, then you might consider basketball. But basketball is a quarter on the dollar. It's like throwing a quarter up. Like you can't go after a quarter, you need to go after dollars here. So Connecticut, in my view, is pretty dang far off as far as a real expansion candidate for the Big 12. Maybe the new ACC, I would consider them, depending on what they want to be. But I just don't see the Big 12 really getting a lot of upside adding Yukon at all. Never did, actually. And you know that, Bomber.
I do, yeah, I agree with you, right? Yeah. There was that moment that there was this idea, this super basketball league thing, and it was like a moment, lasted about 5 minutes, and then we know that football took over again, and it was done. So, all right, and then last comment, and then we'll get on to our realignment stuff. Friends Call Me Sean says, so ACC got 2/3 of vote on their amended suit, but they didn't get one on the original filing. Yeah, the lawsuits going back and forth at ACC and ESPN and Florida State Land are insane right now.
Yeah, the attorney duels on Twitter are insane.
It is insane. And now there are
I'm watching these going, what?
Right. Are you seeing that Doug Rohan's now going back and forth with
stuff?
They're going back and forth, blow for blow.
I'm having to read it in triplicate going back.
Yeah, it's pretty over my head. I tried to give you guys those links so you guys can read them and tell me what they say.
I did. I'm like, let's just have Doug on the show. That was my
all right.
Just
okay.
on Doug.
All right, let's move right along. We are going to talk now college football playoffs, the structure, and what that looks like. So right now, we have 56 people watching us live. There's going to be people come in behind us. We're going to be doing this for a long time. So I'm asking for everybody to give us your ideas. What do you think the playoff looks like in 2026? Is it 4 teams? Is it 12 teams? Is it 38 teams? Whatever it is, put it in the comment section, and we're going to try to flag those and talk about them. I didn't have time to collect them all before the show. I've only got ours, but we are going to be talking about yours. So this is an interactive show. If you guys can do me a favor, when other people come in and they're watching, asking what we're doing, let them know. Tell them that that's what we're trying to find out, and that's what we're going to be talking about. All right. So first of all, let me share exactly the data that I collected. I know it's kind of hard to read, but I think that's clear enough now with our 1080p. I think that's readable now, Moen, just so you know. So what I did is I asked everybody, this is the premise, 2026, as many teams as you want, and whatever structure you wanted. Okay, so everybody gave me their feedback, and this is the feedback. I'm going to run through it before we break down each individual one. I'm going to leave Immaculates for last. So me and Ute are the exact same. I think we have to be the same to grow. That's the only way. That's the only way I think the Big 12 wins in any situation like this. That is 5 Big 12. Sorry, 5 Big 10, 5 SEC. Those are reserves. So those go to the top 5 teams in those two conferences. 3 Big 12 teams guaranteed in. Every playoff, you're going to have 3 Big 12. You're going to have 2 ACC. We'll talk about why that is, but Ute and I both believe that eventually the Big 12 is going to eat up some ACC schools, and that would justify that number. And then one G5 that's reserved, and no at-larges. So every slot is filled, and that's 16 teams. So that's one. Okay. The second one is Sergeant Pickles. He says 1 AQ for the big SEC, ACC, Big 12, so 4 slots with 7 at large. Sorry, 4 plus 1. Yeah, 4 plus 1. I didn't type it out here. 4 plus 1 for the G5, so that would be 5 reserved, 7 at large. Okay, so that's these 3. Just so everybody knows what we're talking about. Those are those 3 right there. All right, the next round is 14 teams, and that was a couple of them we got. One of them, this one is from Moen. It says the big SEC get 4 AQs each. The ACC Big 12 get 2 each. G5 independents get 2. And this is his reasoning, and we can talk about this in a little bit, but secures biggest brands for the CFP. In turn, secures the most revenue for media partners. The big SEC get a larger revenue share, and others still do better than they ever did before. And I would agree with that. I think that's the idea. And then Becky Go Huskies. Her idea, and it's this one right here, as we're highlighting and going around. 4 auto bids for the big and SEC, so that's 2 apiece. 2 auto bids for the Big 12. Not any for the ACC. 1 for the G5, and 3 at large. So that's 8.
It's the ACC destruction.
Yeah,
right
pretty much. That's
scenario.
the ACC completely gone. At least as a power conference. They could, I guess, slip to the G5, but there's no at-larges. There's 3 at-larges in that one. And then the last one, and this is the one that's probably going to be the one we talk about a goodly amount because it takes a little bit of time to explain. I'll let Immaculate run through this in detail. But he says at the end of the playoff cycle in a particular year, you end up with tournament winners, 1 for the big, 1 for the SEC, 1 for the ACC, 1 for the Big 12, and then either 1 or 2 for the G5s. And then they would play, and the winners of those lower division games, and that would be the Big 12, ACC versus, I guess, 2 G5 schools. Whoever wins those games go to the prominent winners of the different conference championships, which would be the big and the SEC. And whoever wins those go to a semifinal, and then it's over. So it's a lot more complex. There's a lot more to it. But what that represents is each now conference is doing their own subdivision tournament. So that would be possibly 4 schools in the SEC, for instance, playing each other for 1 spot. Mm-hmm. So, and we'll let Immaculate talk about why he thinks that's the idea and way to go. So that's where we're at right now. So before we really jump into Q&A, what do you guys think about these just as you're looking at them? I'm going to move it so everybody can see to the side. There you go. As we're looking at these, what's you guys' first thoughts?
14 teams is the best.
Okay.
14 teams.
I'd agree with them for one reason only, and that's because it remains with the conference tournament or the conference championships. And I think that those matter a lot, and I don't think that the Big Ten and the SEC are willing to give those up.
I think that you can have a conference championship and have a 16-team field if you really, really want to. I mean, you could. I hate the idea on a 14 team of having a vote, like an AP vote, determine who's going to be the number 1 and 2 seeds. Again, like we talked about last week, this isn't the NFL at all. And like we're moving towards a model like the NFL, but like with like a little bit of a college spin. These are too important, these buys to get. So I just don't think that it warrants an outside vote from a committee giving the first 2 slots up for buys. And it's just too significant. It's a first round win game right there. Like the difference between the 2 and 3 seed is absolutely huge. And so it's just too much of an advantage for me. I just don't see the real value in that. So I think the 16 teams where we're going to go.
Moen?
Yeah, no, I disagree. I think the 14 team, it's very easy to determine who the top 2 best teams are. You use a BCS model, you use polls, you use humans, you use computer data points. You will come up with number 1 and number 2, and those will be your top 2 buys. But I do think that there should only be 1 buy per conference. So I don't think 2 Big Ten teams or 2 SEC teams should get a buy. I think it should be one conference gets 1 buy, another conference gets the other buy.
I think it's kind of obvious from everything we're seeing here, and from the releases. The one thing I can say with surety is that I do believe the CFP wants to get away from having a ranking committee. I think that the people who are on that committee and all the crap that they went through, some of it, I'm not saying people weren't deservedly mad, but some of the things and threats and stuff that went towards them, I don't think anyone wants to be on those committees anymore. I think that they realize they're probably going to have less and less quality people want to be part of that. And I don't think they want that kind of a problem again. And this is what that tells me. With so many AQs, you don't need a ranking committee because it's all going to be determined in your conference season and your records there. So it definitely looks like he's saying they'll find another way to figure out the at-larges, whether it's like a computerized ranking or something. But it definitely looks like we're going away from that one way or another.
So my thoughts are I don't have a problem with any college football playoff. I'm with you. I think each conference could easily, within the 16-team structure, still have a tournament. But at the end of the day, the teams that go into those slots for those tournament or for the different conferences to represent, Big 12, for instance, if it got 3 spots, they could have a mini playoff. Go ahead and do that. But it's only to fill 3 spots. So it doesn't get away from the tournaments. Go ahead and do them. But I think from a placement perspective, I think you ought to take the teams that are the highest performing, even through the end of a conference tournament, than have anything at large. There shouldn't be any votes to get in. This is an earn your way in type of a situation. And I don't think you have to go away from conference tournaments to do that. So it all comes down to organization and scheduling. You could schedule these things in the last week of August. Have a week 0. Give the conference tournament winners for the conferences that don't get bye weeks. Have the bye week the last week, the 13th week. It's actually 14 weeks in the season. If you don't have a game, you get a bye. So I think there's a way to do it. The thing I really don't understand is immaculate, frankly, and I'm going to give him time to explain it. But in my opinion, I think four SEC teams want to beat up on 4 Big 12 ACC teams. I don't think they want to beat up on each other and only have one team represent them. They've talked about it several times, and Sankey has said we want 4 SEC teams in the final. You can't do that if you do it this way.
But that was for that kind of a tournament that you wanted 4 SEC teams in that kind of a tournament.
I'm saying any tournament. He wants to have. He wants to own.
That tournament.
Okay. Okay.
I know what you're saying.
I'm not gonna get in. I don't know what's his intent. So this tournament doesn't mean anything to me. What does mean to me is that he wants as many SEC in the final as he can get. That's all I'm trying to say.
Right.
So,
and I get that. I'm just.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell everybody why you think that makes sense.
That's not really it's like an apples and oranges thing. Like, yes, if they're going to do this type of large centralized national tournament, he's going to want as many as possible, because he thinks that they're that much deeper, and that makes sense. I mean, you disagree or agree with it, but I would get why he would want to do that. I don't necessarily agree, though, that it means he wouldn't want any other type of situation where you're just kind of showcasing SEC teams in a tournament at the end of the season, because they're going to sell the crap out of that tournament, and they're not going to have to split that money equally with anyone. This is when you start hearing about unequal payouts now, where the Big Ten and the SEC get more. they're going in that direction where they're saying we should be getting more. And if they're selling their own tournament, that's what they would be doing.
You realize, though, I just said I don't go ahead and have the conference tournaments. I'm not saying take those out.
Yeah, but you can't have that many games. Like if they're going to go do what I'm saying and what Pate was talking about, they'd have to do some decentralization of the national tournament, make it smaller. Like, because there's just too many weeks, too many games. I mean, if you were to have that many weeks of games in the big one, plus you add another 2 to 3 more weeks on a conference postseason, I don't know. Maybe it's not too much, but the only reason why I'd say is there's not really a reason to have all those teams in a national tournament if they all just lost their own conference tournament.
How do you square the circle of they want as much representation in the final? Because basically, if you're saying it's those final 6, the G5 team technically carries the same weight as the SEC team.
I'd have to explain why they don't. The final, in my opinion, in my projection, not that it has to be this way, would be a 3-tier system of the final. Big Ten and SEC, this you guys aren't gonna like this, would probably get put in the top tier.
No, we know that. Yeah, I'm agreeing.
They would have the bye,
right?
And the next one down would be the Big 12 and ACC champion.
Right.
Those would be like the first step. So the 2 G5 champs, I don't think Notre Dame's going to be independent. I don't think there'll be a place for an independent. So I'm just saying 2 G5 champs, each one would go against an ACC champ and a Big 12 champ. If you get that win as a G5 champ, you have earned your right to go play a Big 10 or an SEC champ. No one wants to see it. I get it. Wants to see just a straight up number 1 versus number 12.
I don't think anybody's saying that.
No, I know. Like they don't want to see like Georgia versus Liberty. They don't think it would be a great game. But if Liberty was to come in and beat, say, I don't know, Utah, I think they've proved that, that could be a good game against Georgia.
But nobody's saying that. Nobody here's saying that.
Not here. I'm just saying in general, I see it a lot.
Like we're not proposing that though.
No. But I'm saying people in general think G5s shouldn't even be in the tournament. I'm saying the
part in the math that doesn't make sense to me is the 2 semifinal games. The winners of the first round carry the same weight as the teams that get the bye, because they're then head to head. And those games they've already said are going to be bowl games, so they're going to be at a neutral site anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So technically they carry the same weight when they're in the same ladder. If you reduce it and shrink it down, so the SEC only has 1 team out of the 6.
But they're not, because I'm saying that they're also going to have a 6-team conference tournament.
I know. I'm saying that whoever wins that tournament is the one that is at the top.
I'm saying the amount of money that they can make from the combination of these 2 tournaments versus just a conference championship game in the one big tournament, because of how much of the big tournament that they have to split equally with everyone else, they would make more.
Yeah, but it's not about money. It's about winning the championship.
Yeah, and they're still going to do that. I'm not sure what, like, that's not saying what I'm talking about here is doesn't do that. Yeah, you have your teams playing SEC teams, and then the top one from that tournament goes on.
Yeah, but only one.
Yeah, but it's only one for everybody. It's not like there's going to be more for others. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. If you equal it and shrink it down to just the 6, the teams technically all carry the same weight.
No, because number 1, the other 2 have to play without a bye.
I don't look. We're only talking about winning games. We're only talking about
when you're saying the same weight. You're saying like you're acting like they're going to get paid the same and all that. We don't even know that for sure.
I'm not. No, I'm not saying anything about money.
But I'm just saying I don't see it as being the same weight for those who are at the top versus the 2 who are having to play in basically to play them. Like that's not the same at all.
I get that. All I'm saying is in the final tournament.
I know. I'm just saying we disagree though. I'm trying to present this. I'm saying
do you understand? Do you understand what
I
I'm
absolutely
saying,
do? And I'm saying I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I'm just trying to present this.
Let me repeat back to you what I'm hearing from you, so we know, because I think other people have the same questions because I've talked to them.
Okay, but can I present it and then we talk? Like,
go ahead.
It's really tough to go through this long thing when it just gets like picked apart in little pieces along the way. Like, just let me present it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So what I think this is about and was what Josh Pate is talking about, is what you guys are seeing with all these 14 and 16 teams is what the Big Ten and SEC are saying. This is all we're willing to do with this. We would rather you work with us and putting together these tournaments and then leading into a championship. Why? Because they need all of those schools to work with them to get governance from the NCAA. I don't think they're going to get it just on their own. They need the whole FBS to kind of come together and say, this is good for us all. There's no reason for you to hold it up. If it's just the few at the top saying this, there's going to be plenty saying they're doing it for themselves and they're not going to get it. So I think what they're trying to do is get the FBS to work with them to get the governance. That's the big deal. This stuff right here we're talking about, it's kind of a big deal, but not as big of a deal. The real thing that they're all really having to focus on is the governance, House versus NCAA, employee status, all these things. Those are the big deals. So I think they need everyone to work together on this. And so basically they're saying, if we're going to do a national tournament, the only thing we're going to agree to is if we get 4 AQs, because that'll be equivalent to kind of if we were running our own 4-team tournament. And I think that's what Josh Pate was getting at, is this is where the congruence is, where how it connects. And because otherwise it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, and the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is what I've been talking about for a long time, because this is an old concept. They've wanted this for a long time. So 6 teams in a conference tournament, 2 buys for your top 2 teams. And then you have your 4 play out, and then you have them play against the 2 at the bye. And it's just a common 6 team, and it gives you your champion. And yes, each conference can have one of those. If you look at that, that's 7 games each. If we have your 4 mains and then maybe 4 G5s, now you're looking at like 56 games just in conference tournaments alone that now networks and streamers and everyone can pick up. It's a lot bigger number. And then you go into your other 6-1 with another 7 games and add to that, you're looking at 65 games. It's a massive uptick in the amount of content available. And this is actually something that the G5s could sell. They can't sell their regular season stuff. So I actually think this gets the G5 vote much more quickly than this other deal, because it's not very good for the G5s comparatively. So that's why. Would
this operate like the Champions League? It sounds like in European soccer.
Yes.
Where like the best teams of each league's like basically play off and its own subdivision. So you don't get multiple teams. You just have your best team play off.
But the Champions League does have a difference in teams. Like EPL gets like 4 teams, whereas like La Liga might only get 2, if I'm right. Am I right on that?
That's exactly right. Yep.
So it's the Champions League.
The champion is the champion.
Right.
Champions League started with just the champions, and then
I think the Champions League is kind of more like what you guys are talking about, but because it's not just the champion of each league. Like if 4 teams are going in from the EPL, there's the number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 teams are all getting in. So it's more like the national championship that you guys are talking about.
I think let's just clear that up. Champions League started with just champions. 1 from the EPL, 1 from the Liga, and then since then, because of money, I'm sure because of money, they expanded it. So now 4 goes from England and 2 come from Spain. So it is loaded. Okay. And the smaller countries that don't have a lot of people don't carry as much weight as England does. England and Germany have the most. So anyway, go ahead. You're right on.
Yeah. So it's everyone has their own conference tournament. Everyone's responsible for selling it themselves. It's the decentralized decision when you watch these guys not being able to come to agreement in the CFP board. Now, we all have our own opinions on where they should go, what they should do, what decisions they should make. Not telling anyone what to think about that. But I think we can all be in agreement in saying it's been a bit of a cluster F. They have. Sure. So from every one of the directions, they're going to look at this saying, it's only going to get worse if we can't decide together on this one little thing, which the person holding out their vote is even saying, 5 + 7 is good for us, but we want something else in order to vote yes for it. That doesn't bode well for, if you have to make this vote for every single little thing and everyone's going to hold up the process to get their little piece that they want. That to me is not something that I see going longer. That's something that I think the likes of Sankey, he's basically said, it doesn't work this way. It can't work this way. I think that he's directly stated you could see the end of the CFP as we know it. And that's all it does. It's decentralizing now. So for the most of your value, you're going to have to get your own deal with a network with your conference tournament. Now, I don't think the Big 12 has any problem doing that. I think that could be a stellar tournament. But for some of the others, it could allow, an ACC to actually get a good deal. I mean, you look at all your streamers that want to get into this, they're going to be pushing in to try to show these. So, and then, it goes into a tournament of 6 teams. It could, maybe that goes down to 4. I don't know. My suggestion, though, is that I think they want to keep the G5 involved. And so you'd have 2 of their champs go against the 2. That's your first round. And then your buys for your top 2, which whether it's automatically done that the Big Ten and SEC do it or by ranking, it's probably going to be the same thing either way. And then it just kind of goes up a tier. And that's your Super Bowl of college football.
We're going to be talking about that more, so everybody just sit down for a minute.
It's an impressive idea, Immaculate. It really is.
Let's get to some super chats really quick. Then we can dive into the details of these different plans. Kerry for $4.99, he says, "What's up with the PATC guy? Good or bad move?" Do you guys know what he's talking about there?
I'll peek around the corner.
He's talking about Greg.
Oh yeah,
Greg's gonna do what Greg's gonna do.
What
Greg's
Greg's
that's
the
Godfather. Godfather does what Godfather does.
Yeah, we don't question what
It
Greg
is what
does.
it is.
He runs his own ship over there. So, thanks for the super chat, by the way, Kerry.
Thank you.
Ryan Willie for $2 says, "Bomber, it's all about the money." So there you go, Immaculate. There's one guy supporting you.
Yeah,
Then one more. FCS guy for $5 says, "Thanks guys for all you do. Haven't missed many shows. I'm old, grew up real Big Ten, the Big 8. If you can remember the Big 8, you are very old. I will tell you that right now." Thank you very much, FCS guy, for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all for the super chats.
All right, so
give him a clap, Moan. Give him a clap here.
So let's for a second dive back into these. Let me bring our
let's see what the community thinks. I'm really curious. Like, what's the community saying right now, based on the ideas that have been thrown out?
We'll start picking some comments. Go for it.
Can I ask you guys a quick question here on that? Do you like the idea of 2 G5 champs, or do you like a G5 champ and a wild card?
I would have I don't support 2 G5 champs. I think that G5 football quality is going to be eroded over time. Like there's going to be a decay because of how the money's gone with transfer portal and everything else. I think the G5 quality is going to get a little worse and worse and worse.
Makes
I think that it's almost like a liability, honestly, in some games. I'm not kidding you. Like,
here's the problem.
I'm really worried about
I don't want to hold them up. I don't want to hold them up too long, but if you have a G5 and a wild card, you could honestly say like the difference in the team that the Big 12 champ versus the ACC champ is going to have to play could be vastly different. So that's why I was thinking like 2 G5s means they kind of have like an equal ground, whereas the wild card team could end up being pretty good.
There's no reason the G5s should carry the same measured weight for 2 slots.
The G5 itself's talking about possibly breaking away and doing its own playoff because they know that this is going to be they know it's going to be a mess when they get into this big playoff.
Have they?
They have.
Well, there's been talk about it. I've seen some.
The FCS talk.
They're talking about actually like at the G5 level too.
Oh, well,
and like because nobody wants, if you're Liberty, you don't want to be going to Georgia to play a game. Like that is a real risk there. Like,
I mean, the players may not want to.
Well, I think there's just as much chance that the G5 starts their own tournament as there is that we end up with only 6 teams.
I don't think
at the end of a year. It's possible. You might be right.
Yeah. Immaculate. What I think you could do with your idea, what I think might happen, there's merit to it, like the philosophy and stuff, like your internal playoff with the Big Ten and the SEC. I guess like as an outsider of those 2 conferences, my fear is that you just kind of kick the Big 12 and the ACC to the curb and say, hey, we'll play the SEC champ before the Big Ten champ, or vice versa. And you just have like a super playoff, because then that makes total sense. Like you've got your own, it's basically the AFC and the NFC, right, in the NFL. And then all of a sudden your Super Bowl is that. So I think that's
so
my
many
fear
fans,
with your idea, because like there's merit
get
behind it, but like
I get the fear.
it's like, why even include? I guess if I'm the Big Ten, it's like, why even include like the G5 when I could just play the SEC champ without risking a loss or an upset in that type of playoff format, when I could just play the other big boy in their mind's eye.
I just think that, it's just cutting out. I think the worry is that it would cut out just too many fans. Like we look at these viewership numbers as almost like they're like mechanical, and they're not. They're not guaranteed. They're not absolute. Like you can lose them, and in a lot of the big games where you see big numbers, it's not just fans of that conference. That's all fans. So I think that there's more risk than there is to gain. That I could be wrong.
The other thing, as far as for money, if the G5 did start their own tournament, there's nothing to say that the payoff for the CFP still wouldn't give them the money. They don't necessarily have to directly be involved to get cascade money down, just like with the basketball tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, I realize the numbers might be down for viewing, but that might be compensated by a check for each one of the conferences. Just sort of pay them to go away.
It's hard to have the same check though if you have less games.
Well, I'm not saying you
From the
are.
network.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it your way. It's every conference is going to have its own playoff.
Oh yeah, okay. I was still thinking the national tournament in terms of
No, it would just represent, instead of going to a top 6, like you're saying, if the G5 did their own, they would have their own, and Mountain West would have one. The AAC would have one. And then those guys could populate their own G5 tier Final Four. And now everybody's getting money.
It's just really hard. I think it would be hard for a network and for everyone to kind of project what kind of viewership that would get, because there's just nothing to base it on. So it'd be really hard to sell it.
Tell you what, that's something we'll take up to Bob. Okay. Let me ask him the question.
Yep, you'd be the guy.
See what he thinks. He's the educated guy. We're dummies, right? So
yeah, I wouldn't debate him on that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Did you want to start picking these, or do you want me to do it?
Go ahead and pick them.
Okay. All right. We'll just cruise through some comments here. Let's get some. We've got 26 comments that are sitting there ready to go, and this is what this show's about. So, Daniel Kopcha, thank you for being here. Daniel says, "What move is next in Realignment Madness?" AMAC adds 14. Let's see. The
Number
MAC
14.
went up
Number
to 14.
14.
Who? UMass, right? UMass was
They're
the.
at
13.
13.
They're at 13. So the chalk talk is, who do they add in order to get to an equal number?
Oh, I thought so. Is UMass 13?
13.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
asking a question of these 3 options, which is the most likely.
Okay, what do you guys think? He says MAC adds number 14.
adds.
Conference U adds 12, or ACC loses someone. I think ACC loses someone, number 1.
I think MAC adds Western Kentucky.
There you
Which
go.
starts a huge conversation, because if Western Kentucky is moving, that's someone leaving CUSA, and CUSA is the conference that just got their team into, the whole playoff situation and got the money for it. You would think that would be a terrible time to leave. So why would WKAU be leaving? Why would Mass be joining? I think, to me, it's kind of exciting, because that could be one answer, one possible, is that they know that they're going to have a tournament. And do you really want to go into a tournament with Liberty when the amount of funding that they have and the amount of support that they have, you're just never going to be able to match, and you're never going to do very far. So I think this all hinges on whether West Kentucky goes to the MAC. So I dare say I think they will. I think that's letter A.
I think the other point to bring up is most of the lower class games that the Big Ten schedules as OOC games are against MAC teams. So you're going to get a bigger payday. You're going to have a chance to knock off a Big Ten team to set up your season.
Carrie, another question here, says, why do people keep talking about Miami? They don't even have their own stadium. They live in a rented stadium. Ute.
Yeah, so Miami has a big brand. And I think the pushback against that is their stadium's like very, very far away from the campus. So none of the students can really get to the game unless like you bus or ride over. Like it's really far. It's kind of like a UCLA scenario with the Rose Bowl. I think that kind of explains some of the population there, like not showing up to the football game. And yeah, it's just the brand of Miami and like the brand equity of the city too, and the historical football success, and plus like you're opening up that fertile recruiting grounds too in Miami and Southern Florida. So those are the advantages.
Anybody else want to say something about that one?
Oh yeah, we've gone over this a lot. To me, the stadium is a big deal, but if it's not to the presidents, then it's not. The upsides of Miami are, as we've just gone through, are brand, city, state. So it's there's some big things for them, and then to me, there's some big negatives. I don't know. It's tough, but I think they're going to be talked about until this is all over. They're good enough to be talked about for sure.
Fair. Next comment from David Hopkins. Good to have you here, David. He says, Moen looking great tonight. Go Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech is the word of the day. Drinking game.
Bomber, where's your drink? Where's your water?
I don't have a drink. It's right here. I don't lift a cheer with the water in my hand. I don't do that.
Yes. There
All
we
right.
go.
Just because I got thirsty that second. All
It's,
right.
it's a wonderful thing to see right there.
Right. Uh-huh. All right. Dan Miter, who's a member, says, did you guys see the Vegas preseason CFP odds of top 33? There's 11 in the SEC, 8 in the Big 10, 8 in the Big 12. No G5s. He skipped the ACC altogether. There's none in the ACC.
No, there is. Clemson and Florida State are the top two.
All right. So
in the ACC.
Maybe he's already moved them. Maybe Dan's already moved them into a conference then. It's possible. All right. No, I didn't see those. No.
It's tough to call right there because, I get it if we're just doing the top 33. They don't think a team's going to be in the top 33, but there's guaranteed to be a G5 team in this coming one. Mm-hmm. So you'd almost it's almost like someone in Vegas kind of flubbed this and was acting on their old way of doing things, and they haven't yet created the new model for creating these because they need something for G5 for people to pick. People will make bets on that. They can make money off of it.
Boise State's going to be a good football team this year too.
Yeah, they are.
With Malachi Nelson there, that program is going to be a good program.
He's probably going to put up numbers.
Oh gosh, yeah, he's going to
very possible.
numbers.
He's going to put up numbers there.
Very possible. We'll have to find out what's up with him because he had other places he could have gone. So
we need to make a CFP Mafia sports bet on Boise State.
I tell you what, all fun to bet if you want to place it.
Man, yeah, there we go. Boise.
All right, look, find a good option one, and we'll take it. Maybe work it into a trifecta pick or something.
That's right. Parlay.
Daniel Gygax says immaculate worst drivers are in Columbus, Ohio.
It's true.
Columbus, Ohio is getting knocked right now.
It's true.
And nobody's denying it. All right.
If Moen's saying so, we'll go with it.
Tony Lawson says Luke Fickell is in over his head.
Oh
boy. Where's our Wisconsin people?
He's got Mike Vrabel hanging around. Mike Vrabel is going to be helping them this season.
What do you mean helping him? Is he like an analyst or something over there?
No. He's not an official role, but he's going to be around the program.
He's just going to carry the tissue box next to him when Iowa holds him to 5 points again.
Oh, jeez. Before we move to the next, go ahead. I
was like, no, he's. I think he's an assistant coach there for.
So Vrabel's just hanging around,
probably like this new thing.
He's going to be, he's going to be around the program, is what I said. Luke Fickell and Mike Vrabel are very good friends.
They're like analysts, they hire these analysts now. There's like senior analyst to the coach. What's his the guy that we were going to maybe have as our OC? He was that.
Oh, Philbin.
Not Philbin. He's at OSU. Yeah, he's the same thing. But he's the guy down at Texas that we were looking to hire, and he's the
Chris
senior analyst to Sarkisian at Texas. They got all these weird new.
Right, but I don't think Vrabel's actually taking a job there because he doesn't want that on his resume. He just wants because it's going to be hard being an NFL head coach and then go be an analyst in college. He's just going to be around the program as well.
He's probably got an NIL. He's probably got an NIL deal.
Let's
He's like an
quit
Ohio State
talking
walk-on.
about Mike Vrabel.
He's the
He's a
9
walk-on.
walk-on.
Just talking.
Ohio State-
No more Mike Vrabel talk. Ex-Nay.
Mike
Oh,
Vrabel's a
Mike
great
Vrabel-
coach. I mean,
Vrabel
seriously,
talk.
that's a big deal for Wisconsin, though. Wisconsin,
Yeah,
if
it's-
they've got Fickle and Vrabel, I mean, watch out for the Badgers. Not tough, Tony. I mean, seriously, we just got to be real, man.
All right.
Wisconsin's
let's
got to
see
be in
here.
the parlay, Bomber. So we've got Boise State and we've got Wisconsin in the parlay.
Ooh. Okay, we'll have to talk about it then. I was just gonna give you. I'm gonna turn you loose, but I got anything that includes other teams I need to know about. All right. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. With the 1 hour mark, we're talking college football playoff, the new structure, what it's going to be in 2026. We invite everybody to make your guesses, put them in the comment section, and we'll try to flag them and talk about them tonight. We're going to be here at least another hour. We invite everybody to stick around and be part of the conversation. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us all on Twitter and then turn on your notifications. And last but not least, I'll give you a video of how you can join the show and be part of the Big 12 Mafia family.
Want to become a member of the College Football Mafia family? Simply select the Join button from our homepage. There are several options with their own unique benefits to choose from. You can also set yourself to auto-accept gifted membership by selecting the gift settings options as shown.
All right. Thanks again for Moen for doing that. Moen, do you want to explain the gifting and how that works?
Yeah, real quick. If you want to support the channel financially, all you got to do is go down to the bottom, hit the cash sign. You can leave a super chat, leave a super sticker, become a member, or you can gift memberships directly to the community.
Very good. And we have several super members that give gifts constantly. And if you get a gift or have gotten one in the past, we encourage you to pay it forward. Give a gift to somebody else. That's how we sort of keep things going around here, and it really helps. All right, we have an official guest here from Edward Weiner.
All right.
Let me get this. Let me make sure I'm doing my framing right. I got to pick the right one so that everybody is. Oh, there we go. Okay. Edward Weiner says 16 teams. Focus will be on 1 to 4 with 2 buys, 5 to 8 with 1 bye, 9 to 12 host 13 to 16. First round Big 10 4, SEC 4, Big 12 ACC 2 each.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
1 G5, 3 at large. Notre Dame gets 1 in the top 16. If I guess they're ranked in the top 16. What do you guys think about that?
It's
Go ahead,
complex.
Immaculate.
He's saying that the top 4 are getting buys through the first 2 rounds, and then 5 through 8 are getting buys through the first round. To have your number 9 through your number 12 as your hosting, I tend to think that maybe they might want the higher ranked ones doing the hosting, because they're going to want as big a stadiums as possible, as big and wild the crowds. And not that a 9 to 12 couldn't be. I just think the odds are that your 5 through 8 would be better in that regard. But it's interesting, and it solves the buy problem for 16. It does do that, so I'll give him that. He solved that problem.
What do you guys think?
It's an interesting concept, but again, I think we're getting into too many games.
Yeah, that's what my first thought
Yeah,
was.
you're going to have like a number 13 having to say they win and keep winning, having to play too many games and just losing that war of attrition.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely be hard, especially if you go through a 2 or 3 tiered playoff for each conference.
That's
And
right.
then now
Yeah,
you're
but
talking
it's an interesting
17
idea. I mean,
games.
at least, it's
Yeah,
an interesting idea.
very good. Thank you very much, Edward. We appreciate it. Ryan Willie gives us another $5
Nice.
super chat. Thank you very much, Ryan. He says Vrabel is a special assistant, so we clear that up. Tony, Minnesota should join Conference USA. Oh, wow. Wow.
Those two guys have a
That's
special
a Badger
relationship.
comment right there.
Throwing heat. On a
So
Tuesday.
Vrabel is a special assistant, i.e. Ohio State walk-on.
That's hilarious. All right.
Oh, man.
Thanks for keeping it real, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
Does
Sergeant,
special
go ahead.
assistant mean that he's paid by donors? Does he have
That's
that?
what I think so.
He's
Yeah.
not paid by the school.
Yeah, he's
what else
like,
is paying him to be there? Like Please help him. We do not want Iowa to hold us to 6 points again. Sorry.
Bag
I
man,
won't go
bag
there.
man. Let's see here. All right. Sergeant Pickles, one of our contributors. Good to have you here, Pickles. Says
Pickles.
Immaculate made a good point. He can't spell today, saying the conferences don't want to give up their championship game revenue going to multiple AQ spots per conference. Kills the meaning of those games. And I would propose that I think those games still exist. You don't have to get rid of them. They just could be seated within the format. But you want to answer that,
Check it out,
Immaculate?
guys. You know what? Do you mind if I step in right here?
Go ahead. Yeah.
With a theory idea too, to maybe bridge this. So there's 12 regular season games for all college football teams.
Right.
So what if you went to a 10-game conference slate, had 2 non-conference games, and the last 2 weekends of your conference slate, so again, you have 10, but the last 2 weekends you make your own kind of semifinal in conference. So you don't actually extend it out to a conference weekend, but you actually you reseed in week 10 essentially.
Right.
In the last
week
weeks,
11, right?
Week 11, yeah, 11 and 12.
Yeah.
So 11 and 12 are played versus the top tier teams, and you can create your own semifinal, and you reseed everybody for the last 2 games of the season, and that way you're not extending the season out to 13 games with the conference championship game. You're still getting the best matchups. You're still the conference champion. Solves a lot of problems there. I know the pushback would be, well, you don't know who would have the home game, and yeah, that's one of the issues with it. But I mean, in the NFL all the time, you never know your wild card seeding and stuff, and fans will show up. Fans will still show up. I still think that isn't a deal in that scenario.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Real quick on that. By doing that, by taking over those weeks just for your tournament, there's a lot of schools then that won't be playing. When are they going to get their games? Because they still got to have their home games and their ticket sales and their viewership. So if you're taking 2 weeks away from the season in order to do that, are you pushing those other games then maybe to like week 0 and week 1? Just because those teams are still going to want their games. Like they're not like Indiana is not going to want to only play 10 games a season if that means they have to give up one home
Indiana game. So Indiana would still play the last 2 weeks of the season too, just against lower seeded teams. You'd have to have equal amount of teams in the conference.
I get that, but you would have to do that from the very beginning. Otherwise, there is a chance that they would be playing a team that they already played.
Yes,
that could happen. And plus, if you're Indiana, you'd be playing another bad team, and you wouldn't get much ratings in the last 2 weeks of the season, right? Yep. But who's the Big Ten's not getting paid based on Indiana games anyway, so it's really advantageous for the conference.
They have a vote, though. You're right. You're right. I'm not arguing what you're saying. It's absolutely dead on. But Indiana has a vote in the Big Ten, and that's a problem.
They do.
Yeah.
That does eliminate conference championship weekend, the need for it, and that 13th game there. Mm-hmm. So if you went to a 16-game playoff, all of a sudden it's not as brutal on the kids as far as playing.
I get what you're saying. That does make sense.
And so that you have to have even number of teams to do it, though. You cannot have an odd number of teams.
Well, and
someone's not playing.
And I would propose that you could move. There's no reason they can't start these games in the 3rd week of August. There's literally no reason why the calendar can't just back up without adding actual weeks, except for championship weeks. So there's ways to fit it in so everybody gets their 12th game, but they also have the conference tournaments, 2 more games. You could do it. Just a lot of games.
Do it. Your non-conference slate would stink. You'd have 2 games, probably 1 powder puff and 1.
Maybe you get rid of non-conference altogether and make them all conference.
We're kind of moving that way anyway, right?
I have felt that for a while, but you lose those cross-regional rivalries, the out-of-conference rivalries that are in state. I don't know. College football is such a foobar. It is so insane, really, guys. FCS guy here gives us another $5. He says, Mo and some of the corn we farm ends up in Crown at Gimli, Manitoba. There's 1.5 million in barrels up there. I figure out how to become a member. So FCS guy, yay.
Yeah, if you just go to the cash icon, FCS guy, the same way you entered the super chat, you should have become a membership. If you don't have that option, it's because you're on a brand account and you'll have to use a sub account that is not your brand account. So hopefully that should help you figure that out, help you resolve that situation.
And if it
And
continues-
some of that corn you farmed will be right here in my stomach.
Cheers.
Nice.
Georgia Tech.
I was going to suggest anybody who does have a hard time signing up, please send me a DM on Twitter, and I've got it all worked out. I'll work through it and screenshots and the whole bit and tell you how to do it. It's really easy. But the one blocker is they can't be branded accounts. All right, let's get back here. Wow, we're starting to get some activity now. All right. So SCS guy gave us that. And then Kerry backs it up by saying, for $10, 3 bowl quality teams the Big 12 should get: Louisville, NC State, and Virginia Tech. Let him cook.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook.
Thank you, Kerry. That's fantastic,
Okay,
brother.
man. That just made my night.
So he picked 3. Who's our 4th, guys?
I think that he's absolute nails with this. So Virginia Tech and Louisville are going to be your 2 big ads for the Big 12, right? And then NC State's going to be there, and then maybe Pitt, right? Those are your 4.
How about, can I say USF? No, I can't say that.
You sure you could? Go ahead.
They're the one that might be, but they'd have to make sure they got paid. Pitt's a good one. I kind of am looking like Pitt might do the ACC thing with these guys, but Pitt. I think Pitt is. If I was Big 12 looking at it, that's probably who I'd look at for number 4 coming out of there. Georgia Tech, I think, has good value for the Big 12. Putting it in Atlanta, get you in Georgia recruiting. I think that's a good spot to be. Other than that, though, I think that's. I mean, is Miami available? Does Georgia Tech go to the Big 10? I mean, Miami would be a good pickup.
So,
But those are the 3 to me that are the big ones for the Big 12 as well.
and that's where I go. I think it's either Clemson or Miami that gets the invite. I don't think
yeah,
both.
that's another good one too.
So I think whoever doesn't get that big invite, that even though they think they deserve it, they don't get an invite. That would be the 4th. Pitt would be an alternate. Pitt's people are a lot like Utah fans were. They're slow to catch on.
Hey, Bomber, slow.
You weren't, but you know what I'm talking about. It was hard to turn the nose of the ship around. People just aren't willing to look in the mirror and ask hard questions and take difficult answers. So they could hold out. Pitt could just decide, no, we're just going to stick with everybody else, and we don't need the money. We don't need the this and that. But I honestly think that 4 is going to end up being Miami or Clemson. That's just my opinion.
It's a good pick.
It's Pitt.
And there we go.
And
The
eat
local
shit,
guy
Pitt.
says it's Pitt.
That's right.
He's got
All right.
that West Virginia. He kind of leans in that direction. So
All right, here we go, Moen. Let's kick it off here. Summit Hawk in the
Summit
house.
Hawk again.
Summit.
Winner.
Thank you so much, Summit Hawk, for gifting those memberships. Those memberships went to Immaculate, the Big Lubbock, BR7062, Chris Evans, and Timothy Green. Make sure y'all thank Summit Hawk in the chat. Immaculate, make sure you pay it
Immaculate,
forward.
you need to pay that back.
Yeah,
Turn off
I'm
your
sorry.
auto register or whatever it is.
My membership ran out, and I hadn't.
That's the second time
Yeah,
you got
that's-
one.
And then I was, I know.
amazing.
You know it. You know next month it's going to do it again, and it's going to become a Roni inside joke.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah, well,
All
I think it already is.
Oh
It
yeah,
just
for
get
me it
worse.
is. I don't know
Oh,
if
I
it's
know.
for everybody
I'm
else.
gonna never hear. I saw it immediately. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Please, all of you guys, pay it forward and thank the person who gave you that gift, which Summit Hawk is an absolute stud. And we need to get him on the show. Summit Hawk, we've been talking. Just send me a DM, man. Join one of our shows.
Wait.
There we go.
He had to get his Jayhawk squawk.
You know, and that's just not loud enough for me. Can we not get something that's bigger and more
Man,
impactful?
that's classic.
All right, I guess.
So
that's,
good.
That's
See,
a
it's
pre-recorded
understated.
one. I can't make it louder.
Oh, okay, all right.
Hey,
Let's jump
speaking
back.
of the Jayhawks,
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
sec, guys. I'm going to jump in here, change the topic just for a sec. So, put on Twitter today, I put on a poll actually. Who's a bigger brand, the Kansas Jayhawks or the Utah Utes? So, if you guys didn't see the poll, who would you say is a bigger brand, the Kansas Jayhawks or the Utah Utes? We're talking about overall brand. We're talking about football,
Okay.
basketball, everything.
I
What do you
love you,
think?
but
It's Kansas.
Kansas by a mile.
It's Kansas.
I might have voted in that, and I might have said Kansas too.
Kansas.
Okay, so Summit Hawk, you'll know here that 72% of folks, and there were over 1,600 votes on this, said Kansas as well. So
Okay.
it's been a humbling day out here.
It's
That's all I'm
nothing
saying.
against Utah, man, but that, and I know basketball is only worth 20%, but we're just talking about a brand, and
Yeah.
with their notoriety from all their championships and their championship runs, like it's tough to match.
Look, the fact that even Utah can do it after, this key time in the last 20, 25 years being in mind's eye, right? In public consciousness, for Utah to even be in the conversation is awesome.
Sure,
I mean,
it is.
Utah should not be. I mean, Ute is brave to put these polls out there. He really wants to know what people think. But honestly, there's not many other places where people will take their school knowing what the answer might be, but aren't willing to ask the question. Like I was just talking about Pitt. I haven't seen one Pitt guy who's gone out there and said, "Let me ask the question. Do we really think we're going to get this or not?" Nobody's willing to ask that question. So
There aren't very
I
many
do have a
big
lot.
guys.
I mean, of course, we have biases. I have a major bias, of course, and like I'm learning that daily and everything because I thought this was going to be a little bit closer. And what really was sobering is seeing a lot of Ute fans say Kansas.
Oh, really?
I
When I
mean,
saw that
Yeah.
multiple times, I realized that it's these are a little reset here. What's interesting about this whole topic, though? Okay, so just one little piece of detail here. So, based on internet search history on Google, like if you searched over the last 20 years, if you searched Kansas Jayhawks on Google or the Utah Utes, Utah actually got more search engine hits on Google over the last 20 years than KU. And like I said, if you're looking at a lot of other brand dynamics, it's really close. But like there's that perception piece where people just think Kansas automatically. So that's real.
Well, maybe Kansas just uses Bing. You ever think about that?
Yeah, moan.
I was just going to say Firefox. That's where it's at. All right, here we go. Let's keep this train. Let's keep this train moving.
that was good.
Becky, go Huskies. Good to have you here, Becky. She says just move to the FCS model and be done with it. FCS model, if anybody doesn't know, is just a simple ladder tier. Put everybody in and go. All the champions, whoever, make a number and go for it. So that's what Becky thinks. All right, we got another super chat from Ryan. Ryan is paying it big time tonight. Ryan Willie for $5 says, Greg thinks Miami helped sue Florida State. At least the amended suit. ACC needs 12 votes. So let's say that again. So Greg, I'm sure we're talking about Greg Flugar.
ATC.
Yeah, thinks Miami helped sue Florida State. When did Miami sue Florida State?
No, he's saying I think helped. Well, maybe he's not.
I don't know what he's saying.
I know what he's saying.
Miami is University sued Florida State.
There was a vote. Because part of Florida State's thing is that in order for the ACC to sue them up in the court in North Carolina, they had to have a vote with the board. And ACC in their response is saying, no, we didn't. And then in our amended complaint, we did get a vote from our board, and we got 12 out of the 15 votes. But they're saying they didn't have to send out notice to every school. They didn't let Florida State even know they were doing that.
Yeah,
and
the whole thing's broken.
Technically, they wouldn't have even had to let maybe like North Carolina and Clemson even know, because they would only needed 12 of 15. So what he's saying is he thinks Miami was part of that 12 votes that voted for the suit to support it. So
well, and we know the ACC is broken because they did the same thing where 3 schools abstained when they added SMU and Calford too. So we know the conference is broke.
Kind of speaks against Miami hearing from the Big Ten that
that's what I think. Yeah, that's what that tells me.
That's kind of great. If Greg said that, he's starting to contradict himself a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll
real quick, I have to put this one up here just because it's that's like saying we voted to have a baby after it was born.
That's basically rock and rant. That's the tweet of the day right there, brother.
We are getting some good tweets from these Miami guys. We have one Miami guy who is supporting USF, and now he's supporting FSU.
So tomorrow night, we're going to be talking legal issues. It's going to be all Florida State, ACC, some realignment. We'll talk Big Ten. We're going to do that tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And Jen Knoll's going to be with me. Jen Santee is going to be from Renegade Report is going to be with me. George might join as well. But anyways, we'll have fun tomorrow night about this. hopefully I'm
So
trying to get
Let's
Danielle.
go back to that Miami
Sure,
comment
go ahead.
too. What's in it for Miami? You know, so Miami, what's the play here? Why you do this? If
It's
this is indeed the
desperation.
case, and you align with the ACC essentially.
Mhm.
I don't think they gain anything.
What's the
I think
upside?
it-
Is it just a fear because you don't think that you have a Big Ten invite? Is that really it, or is there more going on here? Is this a coy play? Like, does this even matter at all to Miami? Or are they just kind of trying to not show their hand yet? What are they doing here?
What do you guys think? I'll wait.
I think it's a negotiation to control the price of exit. If you don't think about it as we're trying to keep them in and they're trying to get out, it's more of we want this amount and they want this amount, and this is the ACC trying to make sure that it's closer to their amount by playing this as tough as they are. And those schools, many of them, if they're left behind, they're the ones that are going to get that money. So it's these are the schools that are thinking that they might be left behind long enough to get some money.
What happens if Florida State leaves? Miami sticks in the conference for a few more months, then bolts. Are they going to have access to any of the funds that Florida State had to pay?
Not,
they're
Or
gonna
not
they're
if
gonna
they
lose
leave
the
at the same
rights.
yeah,
time.
they're gonna stagger it. They're gonna
Yeah.
stagger it to the point you got to wait like a full 18 months before you see any money, sort of thing.
So Miami's kind of hedging their bets essentially here. Hey, if we don't go to the Big Ten or elsewhere, at least we'll have Florida State's money.
Possibly, or they could. Clemson might be back on the menu. You know, they could have a legitimate fear that Clemson is going with Florida State, and that they've lost the edge.
I think they both screwed up. They both sat back and were passive, and now they're seeing there's not as much money, there's not as much need, and right now they might get stuck. They can see their future and they hate it. They're kicking
I
themselves.
just have a hard time seeing them get stuck. I think Clemson and Florida or Miami just way too much value there. Way too much brand power. Like we're talking like honestly, Bomber, like those two are they'd be the biggest two brands in the Big 12.
No, I know
far,
that.
right?
I know that.
Like and like there's so little brand power out there available now that you have to gobble it up when you can. There's only a few left.
Well,
And these
okay,
are
so
a
let's
few
talk
of the
about that
schools that are left.
Let's talk about that for a second, though. Do they really need to gobble them up? Because right now, the schools that they're bringing in, even if they bring them in at half share, they're still at a valuation of $70 or $80 million. So, are any of the schools we're talking about worth $70 or $80 million a year? Okay, so why would they expand?
It's a high hurdle, man. Like
Why
maybe
would
Florida
they
State.
expand then? Why would they bring him in? Just some defensive move? They'll be there forever. They'll take whenever they open up the doors, those schools would jump in a heartbeat. I just don't see a reason to do it now.
I guess you can because you can, especially at Florida State if they
You
unhinge
could.
themselves.
I
They're
think Florida
available.
State's the only one, and Notre Dame. Those are the only two that I think.
Devil's advocate, I don't think the amended complaint really changes like what's going to come of the lawsuit. Like I said, I think this is coming down to just a settlement point. So if I was Miami, I might do the same thing just to kind of cover my butt, but you're probably not actually stopping FSU from doing what they're doing. It's just going to make it maybe a little more costly for them. And if you don't know for sure that you got a spot, you definitely don't want to burn all your bridges at home with the ACC. But like I said, though, they only needed 12 of 15. It could be that Miami wasn't part of the vote. It could be that, we had North Carolina and Clemson that didn't vote for the expansion. So my thought would be that they probably also didn't get the call to take part in this and that Miami was part of it as well. But I don't know. We'll see.
They needed a swing vote. Just like North Carolina State was the swing vote for SMU.
And if you're the 12th, that gives you some power, like for whatever you might want to do.
Being the last to vote, you do have power
Yeah,
because they need you more.
Miami
But I
might have been
think
number 12.
whoever said it, I don't know if it was Ute or if it was Immaculate or Mullen, whoever said this speaks more to what Miami feels than it has anything to Florida State. If Miami was in a confident position and knew they were set, they knew their course, they've set their sail, they're going to end up, at least in 2 years, they'll end up in better digs. This would be a throwaway vote. This doesn't feel like a throwaway vote to me.
mean,
I think
I agree with
Miami's
you.
in trouble.
I think
Or-
they're hedging here. That's smart. Mitigating risk right here. That's what we say in the finance world. They're hedging just
Right,
in
that's
case they
what
don't
you
get an
do.
invite. They're going to get money from Florida State. So why not play that card?
Did you want to finish off Immaculate? I'll jump to the super
No,
chat.
I actually pretty much largely just fully agree with you. The only thing I would mention is, there's that out there idea of, who they might be bringing in to replace all these schools in the ACC, and Miami might be part of that. And if that is the case, they would be there the whole time to get some of this money once it gets divvied out. So there's a lot to look at in this. I mean, it definitely shouts at us that they may not be leaving, and they know that.
All right. Let's move on to another one. This next super chat from Summit Hawk, $4.99. Thanks so much, Summit Hawk. He says, passionate fan bases and football, basketball success and academic prestige means Utah is a big brand. I feel they are only on the rise. I don't think anybody disagrees with you, Summit.
Yeah, I think your nails, Summit. And I have a newfound respect for KU. I always did have respect for the Jayhawks, but I might have some biases, towards the Utes and everything. So KU is a mighty big brand, and mad respect to the Jayhawks out there. Give the man a squawk there, Moan.
There we go. I love it. I love it. Thanks again, Summit, for all your gifts and your super chats and your membership. Really, buddy, you're awesome. You carry the spirit with you where you go, and we really appreciate it. Let's get to this next super chat from Mooncat, representing West Virginia, saying Georgia Tech, drink, 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 laugh,
Just paying
laugh,
for
laugh.
our pain. That's what that is.
Drink, 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 laugh, laugh, laugh. All right. Good one, Mooncat. I love it. Thank you very much. The show gets better when these guys get lushed up. So we're just going to continue to go from strength to strength. Now. Steve High, Florida says, where is it stated that all remaining ACC teams are guaranteed all exit money from the ACC? And let's clarify that even more by saying any money that's exit for any schools that leave is not going to be paid out the next year to the schools that stay in the conference. It's going to be evened out and dragged over the next 13 years. So there might be a payoff of $3 million or $4 million over the next 13 years, but it's not some great windfall that is going to change the destination your school is heading. Just
Right.
that's
We'd
one
have to
thing that
check-
I never hear any ACC people talk about that.
Yeah, we'd have to check the ACC bylaws. I'm sure it says in there some way how the exit fee and all that stuff gets disbursed.
Yeah, it's probably all in writing. I have no idea what that is either, so we don't know for sure. But I would agree that all the money's not going to come in immediately, so you can't pay it out immediately. They're only going to pay it out as it comes in. So it would stand to benefit those who are probably going to be at the ACC for the long term, more so than it would
Big
the
12
others.
did actually get a lump sum, though, y'all. The Big 12 for when OU and Texas left.
But
They
that was
did.
ESPN put that up.
Well, and the reason that was paid out is it had to be paid out before the 4 new schools joined. Otherwise, it would have been dragged over time. It
And
would
they
have gone
would
through
have
the
all-
end of the
They would have
contract.
all gotten to some of
Then
it.
everybody
So
would have gotten it. That was the payoff amount for the Hateful Eight.
the existing schools agreed to it so that they
Right.
would get all
There
the
was
money.
a lump sum, though, right? It wasn't staggered. It was just a big fat pot of
ESPN
money.
helped make that.
Front.
Yeah,
That
well,
was
We're agreeing with you. It's a
Yeah,
lump
yeah.
sum to each school divided by 8, and it was all at once.
But that was like a special circumstance.
Yeah,
where
that was a
had,
one-off,
that had to
though.
be negotiated to figure out. Naturally, normally, like if someone's paying you an exit fee, it's not paid all up front. It's over time. But-
Well, the reason you want to drag it out too is if you do pay it all out in one year, like say you do it the next year, the very next year people could leave, and
Yeah,
that's
what
they'll use that
Miami
money
wants.
to buy themselves out.
So you wouldn't want to do that. You have to incentivize people. Maybe you back end load it even. Maybe next year it's only $2 million, but if you stay to the very end, you get a $25 million windfall.
It definitely tells us there's a lot of fear in those ACC schools.
Oh,
Like,
I think they all.
they don't really know exactly what's what right now. I mean, that's
No.
if they actually called a vote like that and excluded maybe 3 schools out of it. I mean, that's some clandestine stuff.
Sergeant Pickles here with another super chat saying, does Notre Dame joining a conference remove the incentive to leave G5 Indy spot open? Who had G5 Indy spots in their things? Okay, Moen, what do you think?
No, I think you would just put 2 G5s in. Yeah, my format is about guaranteeing access. Those 2 G5s will probably get the crap kicked out of them, but it's about guaranteeing access for everybody. It's just guaranteeing a little more access for the Big Ten and the SEC.
I mean, yeah, I think Notre Dame joining a conference means you don't have to consider a spot for an Indy, because any considered spot for an Indy is about Notre Dame. So when you see them say, at large, Indy spot, G5, whatever, that's Notre Dame, because they have a vote on that whole situation. So, yeah, I mean, if they join, it definitely changes the equation.
I think Notre Dame does join the Big Ten. I think that happens within the next 3 years, and I think that removes an Indy spot. There's just going to be one G5 spot, and then there will be calls to remove the G5 spot in about 5 to 7 years.
Right.
Say that again. The G.
So
spot.
the spot, the
G
G5
spot.
The
spot.
G spot.
Yeah,
The
the
G
G
spot.
spot. Oh, Georgia Tech.
That's what you get for all the Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Georgia Tech.
I don't know what any of that means. You guys are talking code.
He doesn't even...
All right, here we go. Preseason champions, Ohio IO. Here we go. Big SEC winning a 14 conference tournament with a bye in the 6-team tournament. Okay, this is somebody got algebra in their head. Big SEC winning a 4-conference tournament with a bye, and a 6-team tournament is 4 total games. Sounds reasonable. 5 games for other conferences. Anybody who speaks mathematician?
He likes Immaculate's idea.
Okay. Okay. Is that what that means?
That's what that means.
I think so.
All right. Good job. You put it into 2 sentences. Good job, preseason champions. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Another one from Terry Kane says no team should get a bye. It's unfair to the other teams who are risking injury with extra games. So I think different opinions around the bend. What do you guys think?
Say the same thing about conference championship games and the whole 16 thing. If there isn't a bye, it's an extra game. It doesn't really help you out at all. And it's risking a lot of injury when you're playing that high level of content. So I think the argument goes both ways. I get it. But those buys are about power. It's not a bad argument, but it's really just comes down to power.
Would the Big 12 have access to a number 1 or 2 seed in the scenarios you guys are talking about, or would it just be the best?
I think they should.
They should. If they win there, if they're the conference champion and they're undefeated, and say the SEC champion has 1 loss, I think the Big 12 champion should go over them.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's where the debate would be. Should this situation start to get talked about, would be exactly what you're saying. Do you give them a chance to get up and above, or is it going to be locked and sealed SEC? I think that you should. I think that you should absolutely be able to earn that bye in that tournament, should that happen. But yeah, that's going to probably be where the debate is.
Yeah, I don't think just because they're in the bigger conferences. There are those teams once every 5 years that comes out of an ACC Big 12.
I certainly hope so.
That are a team that could champion, compete at that highest levels. I think those slots, we put them in as big in SEC when we're drawing them, but really it's whoever's the best conference, in my opinion, would get one of those slots.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those AQs, but that's power negotiating.
Edward Wayner, one of our members, says, I think with conference championship games, having 4 top conference winners get 2 buys allows rest for the teams, better TV matchups if avoid one versus 16, 2 versus 15, which is the basketball model. Do we want to see number 1 Georgia versus 16 Liberty? What do you think about that?
I don't want to see Liberty versus Georgia.
Right.
I really don't. Physical security. I'm serious. Like if you're talking about a Liberty team that has a 10th of the talent of Georgia, I mean, seriously, I just don't think it's a fair playing field, especially at Georgia. So That's the issue with the G5, though. I mean, all the time it's going to be that with the G5. I think that the 2-bye system probably extends the playoff maybe out too long. I don't know. I've never seen like a playoff with 2 byes in it. So it's kind of a unique, cutting edge idea, but it's innovative. So there's that.
I've seen that. I don't remember where I've seen it before. And if I'm being completely honest, if they do decide to go with the national situation and go to 16, I like Edwards' idea. I liked it. I like it made sense because that's one of the problems I've seen is like I don't understand how to do a 16 and still keep things like we're talking about the conference championship and all that. His thing solves that. And he's right. You don't get the very high end playing the very low end in the first week, and that's not good games. I don't think the networks are going to want that either. So what he's suggesting, I think the networks would like that better too. So I say kudos to him. I think it was a really good, well thought out idea.
Georgia Tech.
Round it up, Georgia Tech. All right, we have one of our guest hosts in the waiting room right now, out there at least talking in the comment section. Jen, if you want to join the show, I DM'd you the link. Go ahead and join us. We can talk some Florida State, ACC. We're talking college football realignment. So love to have.
Let's see how Jen feels about Miami.
Yeah,
it's Miami situation with Miami's new vote.
Let's see. So there's not another. I think I've got all the super chats. Okay.
No,
all right.
Hold on. You've got 2 super chats.
Which ones? Oh, I did. I missed them. I'm sorry. Okay, first one, Jen Santi, $1.99 says, my fave's always a great show. Thanks, Jen. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you for the super chat.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Moen. And then Carrie, another $9 or $10 super chat says, if Miami voted against FSU in the lawsuit, Jen, are you ginned up about this? Is this something you want to come talk about? Because we're just hearing about this now. So that would be something you could join the show and talk about tonight, or you and I will just talk about tomorrow night. I don't really care. We do both even. So let me start over.
Yeah.
What?
No, I was just saying, and I want to read it with something that Rock ran saying that no one knows the votes. It's speculation. If anyone's thinking, we're not saying it's absolutely Miami that voted.
No, we didn't. We're just reading.
Right.
Comments.
I'm just reiterating so that people realize, like, we're not saying Miami did it. It's just
we're
12
talking
or 15 did.
Who could it have been though?
Well, let me read the.
Yeah.
Let me read this.
Was it Clemson, Miami?
Let me read this super chat and we'll talk about it.
I need to know this, guys.
If Miami voted against FSU in the lawsuit, I promise you FSU will drop them from the schedule after we join the Big. Ooh, that's
serious.
Well,
he's saying if Miami is not part of the Big. And
right. I understand.
Right. There's only one thing to say about that.
Let him cook. Let him cook
Any
now.
excuse.
Let him cook.
Hey,
I
if you're gonna
think
give
that
us $10, and that's his sound effect, man.
Okay.
Oh my
just put his name, make a sticker, just put it on that button. How about that? Thank you, Carrie, for super chat. We really appreciate it. Let's get to a few more comments here. Eric Carlstrom, says Boise State, Utah win G5 in Tulane, shown that a G5 team can beat a power team. Liberty, mistake. I don't know what that means.
The mistake that
was Liberty.
You mean that they took them last year?
Yeah, because their schedule in Coosa.
That's going to happen. I don't know. You can't get rid of that always.
They're going to
G5.
Go ahead.
You go ahead, Immaculate.
I was just going to. They're going to continue to be top heavy in the Coosa. It's a big problem for them. Liberty, they're not going to get tested as much, and they're going to have the resources to stay at top. So he's right. It's Coosa's a problem right now.
So it's a problem.
The difference
between those like Utah teams, like back in 2004 and 2008 when Utah had undefeated teams beat Alabama and Pitt in BCS bowl games. I mean, you retained a bunch of your roster. A bunch of those teams were senior-laden teams. You had players like Alex Smith on the team. In this world that we're living in now, in this NIL world, they're gone. They're going to Ohio State, elsewhere with the transfer portal. I don't think you can field those type of rosters anymore, those senior-laden, talented rosters at the G5 level. That's why I think the problem is now Liberty, how are you going to retain those players? Your best players, like, for example, Salter, their stud quarterback, transferred. Like, you're just going to lose so much every year that it's going to be hard to really build off what you had before and stuff to make a great team. So even if you make your way into the playoff, I just think you're going to absolutely get stomped. I think it's just a different world today than what we were living in 20 years ago.
How,
in G5.
how can, in 3 years, I know we're all talking about access, and we want nobody's trying to remove access, just trying to keep the quality of teams as pure as possible. Let's just talk about that cycle. Already the Big 12, not counting the ACC because we don't know where they're going to end up with Florida State leaving, but just the Big 12, who we have numbers on, with all the extra money and all the extra things Diormark's doing, including college football playoff, they're going to be about 50 million or something like that. The Big 10, not talking about the SEC, Big 10 is going to be 100 million plus. So these are schools that are prime schools. We're talking about schools that are top notch, that should be able to compete in every way on the same stage. And those two conferences are going to struggle. How many years should it be? And I say this in all earnestness, before the G5 simply cannot spend enough money to stay, even with a modicum of competitive balance.
Who do you want to go?
You talk first. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I agree with you. The system, the way they're talking with the 14 or the 16, I don't think they can. And I don't think they will. That's part of why the other idea is that they could then have their own conference tournament and actually sell that. I think it actually gets them more than what they're getting now. I think it helps them not catch up, obviously, but stay afloat. That's kind of part of the idea, is it helps everyone. Maybe the Big 12 and the ACC the least, but those will be a lot of fun tournaments. So there's still a lot of fun there. But I think it helps the G5 because they need to find a way to get more money. You're dead on. It's just, this gets to a point where you're just going to get barreled over. But it's a death knell if they go, in my opinion, to try and start their own tournament. It's just not going to get viewed. They're not going to get any money for it. They may not even get a network to sign on. So they have to find a solution for them. And if the others want their help in dealing with the NCAA and getting what they need to find a solution that includes the G5.
Can I just add a little addendum before I ask you, Mo, in that same? What if they got the money, but they didn't have a team in the playoff?
I mean,
but they got the exact same money.
It keeps you alive. But I mean, if you're running those schools, you kind of also, like these football teams, even going to a school like that, like it's still a big deal. It gets people excited. You know, on campus, it's something to do. If your G5 team is doing well, you can actually get people to come to your campus and be part of that. So I think that they want their teams to be part of this, not just for the money, but also for all the other benefits to it. So you could be right. And maybe that in the end, that's what happens.
They just write them a check, maybe.
Right. But I think that until the day comes when that's their only last option, I think they're going to fight for inclusion because they want those teams playing. They want them accessible. And it's part of what you tell incoming students. It's like,
I agree with you.
We're relevant. So it's tough, man. That's a tough seat to be sitting in right now, is in one of those president's chairs at a G5.
Jen has joined the show. How are we doing, Jen? Good seeing you.
Hi. How are you guys?
Good. Is that your FSU shirt?
It is.
Oh, nice.
I actually got called the Harley Quinn of FSU tonight, and I absolutely loved it.
Right?
I loved it.
That's fantastic.
Good stuff.
All right, before we talk about Florida State stuff, which I know you have some skinny on for us, really quick, you heard this last question. How does the G5, 6 compete in 3-4 years, Jen?
They don't. I think everything's going to get away. I think you're going to have like a Division II. I just don't see it. I don't see the big schools allowing, because we're going to go to 2 conferences, right? We're going to 2 conferences. That's
what you say.
Well,
what happens to the Big 12?
We can just talk about it, Jen. It's okay.
yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying, like, I think you're gonna have, like, the Big 12 is gonna be treated like the ACC was, and the Pac-12 was, it's going to be in the top 12. It's going to be SEC, Big Ten, and then you'll have some little scatterings, right? You'll have some scatterings, and then but other teams are going to get frustrated. I think the G5 is going to break off. That's where I think it's going to go.
Okay. All right. Ute, what do you think?
I think the G5 is in big trouble because the financial gap's greater than it's ever been right now, and that's not changing anytime soon. It's gonna become more polar with NIL and pay for play right now. Like you can't field seniority, so it's going back to that previous response. I just think that it doesn't look great, and also I would recommend that a floor be placed in the playoff. So rather than having a complete automatic qualify for G5, like make sure it's a top 16 team or a top 20 team or top 25 team as voted in the polls, because
Like they did the BCS. When the BCS.
So a minimum floor. We've talked about that before, but like, hey, if you're a top 20 team, G5, best G5 team, if you're top 20, then you get that spot. If not, then it goes to someone else.
Moen.
Listen, you got to have them 2 G5s in there everybody's worried about the bye being too much of a competitive advantage. You got to let number 3 and number 4 have those 2 G5s to beat up on.
Okay. All right. Let's get to a couple super chats, and then we are absolutely going to talk Florida State ACC. So Ryan Willie for $5 says, Ute, the season would need to start in early August because the fans want the rivalry games.
Well, do what Utah's doing with BYU and just scoot up the rivalry game. Don't play it on rivalry weekend.
You want people to watch your game, move it to a better window.
Why don't you have rivalry weekend in week 10 rather than week 12? Like
Ohio State plays
possible.
Michigan last game of the year. That's it.
My gosh, Moan. You're such a traditionalist.
Hey, and you say you want to be part of this conference there, Oot? You want to be part of the Big Ten?
Yeah,
that's what you got to deal with.
I'm happy being in the Big 12 conference.
They will
I'm just trying to fight for my
ever
conference
move that
out
game.
here.
We'll never get them to change it or move it ever.
I would love to have it be. I would love to have it be rivalry weekend. I'm not averse to that, but it doesn't. It's not going to get you all the eyeballs you need. So
yeah,
I mean,
what about if you played week 10, Ohio State, Michigan, and then all of a sudden in week 12, you play Ohio State, Michigan again? You get 2 games out of it. Think about the ratings, guys.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, that's going to be a ratings gold. That's exactly what anybody wants. Actually,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fantastic.
Fox would be Fox would love it. Seriously, it would be the best thing ever for Fox.
I mean,
I don't know. I'm not.
I'm not trying to ascribe logic to this. I mean, I'm just telling you, like they want that game that day. They want the exact time that they want, and that's the one game that is actually in the contract with the Fox that it has to happen. It's just, I don't know. Maybe they would want to, but they might say that also it might diminish both of them by having more than one, just because of scarcity rules. So,
let's get serious about this, guys. Think about this for a second. Okay, so the whole playoff is worth $130 million, right now. That's the ballpark,
right?
Okay. If you orchestrated this type of internal playoff system within the Big Ten, where the week 11 and 12, you're playing the best teams against each other. How much is that worth itself? Like you've seen the Big Ten contract. The Big Ten gets paid over $1 billion a year. Big Ten gets paid as much as the college football playoff or more.
So you're
every year for its season of games. So I'm saying, like, if you stack up the best Big Ten teams for 2 weeks and have an internal playoff, that could probably be just as much as a college football playoff. Like, it's actually a massive amount of money.
Let's tell everybody what we're talking about, so everybody knows what we're talking about if they came in late. There was a college football playoff model we were talking about that said a conference, and here we're talking about the Big Ten, plays 10 games. Those 10 games are on the books. They know who they're playing. After the 10th game, the 11th week and the 12th week, maybe there's a bye before that week. Those 2 weeks are the best 4 teams playing each other, and that's basically your championship round for the conference. And then everybody else, then if you're not in top 4, those matchups, I guess you go with 5th and 11th or whatever those others match up. But that's what we're talking about here. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, so you play 5, 6, play 7 and 8 because Fox is salivating, right? More good matchups. Like, seriously, you can make so much dang money doing that. It's a joke. Like you can make more than college football playoff doing that in a couple weeks of Big Ten team content. Like in Ohio State, Michigan twice in 3 weeks. Like that's the solution. So you play at 10, week 10, rivalry weekend, then 11 and 12 is the semifinals.
I mean, if you look at a lineup of like take 6 Big Ten teams of the future. Now, mind, this is a coast to coast. If you were to take Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, I'm going to say Florida State, USC, and then I'm throwing in as number 6 Nebraska, just because they got a big brand, a lot of viewership. So it's a little distasteful to say, but I'm
The
going to say
disgust out of your mouth was amazing when you said that. He was like, I mean, Nebraska.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Give
Go
them
ahead.
a little bit on
My
that.
bad.
But if you were to take those 6 brands and put them in a tournament like you just said, and then you give Petiti, remember Mr. Network himself, that to right now go talk with the networks and say, okay, now come at us with what you're willing to pay. I mean, it's only 7 games, and there's no one who has any stance over it. I mean, NBC, CBS, Fox, will ESPN try to come calling? Amazon, it's just the amount that they could sell it for. We can only guess. Like we can only guesstimate. And then think about the SEC with their expanded numbers and who they are. I think that SEC fans would love to just play themselves, especially when you're adding in Texas and Oklahoma.
100.
You know, like they always ask for like 6 teams or more in the tournament. Just it seems like they just want to play each other and that's it because everyone else sucks. Okay,
All
cool.
right.
Anyways, I think that there's more money in it than the big national one for sure because there's just so many more games.
Jen,
Yes.
do you have an opinion on this? We can bypass it.
Do I feel like the SEC wants to play themselves? Absolutely. Do I feel like they want to add anybody? No. I think they're going to be forced to add people. And I think that's what's going to make them really angry. But the SEC, honestly, I think the SEC and the Big Ten could come together and make everything fun again, right? If they got rid of their dead weight. Just start relegating those losers to another conference, right? Start relegating them. Like, there's no reason Vanderbilt should make as much money as they do.
Oh
No.
boy, we went off course. Let's not do this tonight.
No, look. You asked me a question. I'm answering.
I did.
I'm
Sorry, go
answering.
ahead.
So I'm saying I feel like the SEC and the Big Ten can come together, kick out the losers, invite other people in, and then everybody can have fun, right? The people who deserve the money can make the money. The people who don't can, go enjoy lacrosse.
Moen, you want to answer that?
Ohio State and Michigan will play each other the last game
Oh
of
my-
the season.
No, you need some flexibility here. Come on.
There is
And
no
it probably-
flexibility. The ram has touched the wall.
And what about
I agree.
relegation?
I agree with you, Moen, because Florida and Florida State are going to play on the last Saturday on, that's how it goes.
What
That's
about
how I spend my
relegation, though?
Thanksgiving.
Think like private equity. How can you make more money? How can you twist more money out of this whole thing? You just create an in-season tournament like this for a conference champion at the end of the year. If you want more money, maybe the Big Ten doesn't even want more money at this point.
They always want
But that's the
more
way
money.
to do it.
Yeah,
Everybody
12 should
wants
do
more
that.
money. And did you actually see the story from ESPN saying that this could devalue the season and the conference championship games? And y'all, you tell me if I didn't just want to throw my phone to the wall because they already devalued the regular season and they devalued winning a championship.
right.
Did they not?
Yeah, dude, you're right. They did.
Mhm.
Fact.
So that whole story to me, when I saw that, oh, well, we've got to work this out because the college football playoff committee doesn't want to devalue the regular season. I swear to God,
Well, don't say you're from-
I don't have the words. I'm not going to throw my phone, but
Good.
I mean, I use it too much. I'm just saying this was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life when they were saying, oh, well, we don't want to devalue the season. Well, you already did that. You've done it multiple times. You've devalued the season. You've devalued championships. Shut the fuck up. The only reason y'all cared about the regular season last year is because Alabama could have gotten left out. That's it. Bottom line, sorry.
Well, hopefully it doesn't go that way. You go to the Big Ten and all's right with the world. I don't think you have any trouble going forward. Florida State's
my issue is someone else is going to be left out. It's going to happen to someone else.
That's right. It's gonna be. You're right. Yeah.
And so I don't like it. I think teams that earn it should be there. And I think that I don't even care who it is. Even if it was Miami, I would say that's bullshit.
Fair enough. Hey, we got a new member, Moen. Look at that.
Yeah, it's Jen.
Oh, hey.
There you go.
Sorry, guys. I had like multiple like free memberships. Every time I came in here, like somebody was raining down free memberships. So I couldn't even like join it until today. Finally, my membership like ran out and I was like, click. So
that's hilarious, actually. Well, we're glad to have you here, Jen. Thank you so much for being a member. Thank you.
Always.
Okay, let's put college football playoff away and let's isolate really quick here at the end.
Hey, let's get to Carrie's super chat real quick. Do you mind? There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Carrie says, fun fact, Georgia Tech, bottoms up, has more SEC championships than 90% of the other SEC teams.
It's not a lie.
That's a lot of drinking. I saw some more than one swallows involved there, guys. That wasn't a sip. I love it. That's actually
just a
really
pull.
good.
Just a
Thanks,
pull
you,
off the
for
bottom.
grabbing that.
Hey, wait. Does that mean I can actually like? Oh, wait. Can I have this here or no?
Yeah, please.
Oh, yeah.
Go. Let's go. We're an
Thank
adult
God.
program. All
No,
right.
I'll have to fake it and then we cut.
Yeah, not for us. We don't care. So Florida State, ACC, we're following it, but this college football playoff stuff came up and, it bubbled up at the same time. So catch us up. We saw some stuff from Danielle and Doug. We saw some other stuff from Tim Winter. What's going on with this countersuit?
Did you read the filing at all that they did?
Like the first page.
Oh my God.
Too much for me.
So-
I couldn't do it.
Okay, so they're basically contradicting their motion to dismiss in Florida, in North Carolina.
Okay. So they're saying the opposite of what they said in Florida?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It is. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. I mean, I'm hoping I am. I'm not an attorney. I'm blonde. I could be slow. I don't know. But I'm sitting here reading this going, are you guys serious? Is this really a multi-million-dollar business? Maybe not. I guess not, because you have Jim Phillips running it. So that makes sense. But I really don't get what they're trying to do here. Y'all settle. Let's get this done. Let's enjoy the summer.
Right.
Y'all are going to do it anyway. Let us go, surf at the beach. Enjoy.
As a booster for your school, would you rather pay that higher amount now to get out, get it clean, and write a check that might be even 100% more than you would if you strung it out and actually tried to win the thing? Just to
100%.
Would you?
100%.
Okay.
Yep. I would. But I get people that don't want to. I say this because I absolutely 100% hate the ACC, and I've hated it.
Right.
I mean, I think it's such a weak conference. I think everything about it is weak. I think there's no teams that are really any good. It's been a joke since. I mean, the moment Florida State decided to go the ACC versus the SEC was a bad moment for me. But so for NC State fans, for Wake Forest fans, I get it. Y'all are angry. Y'all are really angry. They're very angry. And if you could see my DMs right now, my God, they are so mad. I mean, I get it. y'all suck and you're not really relevant and just
You all suck.
That took a turn. I was like, oh, she's
I love
empathizing with them, and then
All
y'all
right.
suck.
Keep going, Jen. We're listening.
No. I don't empathize with them. They had every opportunity to make themselves better. They chose not to.
I know.
Right.
So
That's right.
I really don't have sympathy for them. And get me the hell out of this run by Jim Phillips. I'm just done. That's all I care about. I want my team, I want my school to make some money. I don't think that a team like Rutgers or Vanderbilt should make more than you. That's ridiculous. And anybody saying that Florida State is being greedy and being an asshole has clearly never had a job offer of 100% more than what you make a year. Because I guarantee you, if you got that offer, you would tell your work best friend, your work husband, your work wife, I don't give a shit what's going on in your life. You'd be like, peace, I'm out. I'm going to my new job. I don't give a shit about this company. That's the deal. And nobody can say that Florida State should actually have to do that. If you have the opportunity, you take it.
Yeah, we
That's
certainly
it's
don't.
perfect summation right there, right? That's
Yeah.
the metaphor. That's
Yeah,
what's going on.
Really quick, Moen. We touched on it, but did sort of lost the string there at the end. Moen, what are your thoughts? Jen brought up relegation. She mentioned a few schools. Can you give the counter argument? Because I know this is something you've been talking about for a long time as well.
In the Big Ten, there is no relegation. Everybody brings something to the table. Rutgers brings the city of New York, which is the #1 media market in the United States, which brings in the reason they're getting $100 million a year. The reason Florida State will be getting $100 million a year is because we have teams in markets like New York, Chicago, and LA. So everybody brings something to the table. Might not be football, but they bring something. So it's all for one and one for all in the Big Ten. Except for Michigan. Fuck Michigan.
Well, what do you think about that, Jen? So this is the conversation, I think.
Here's the deal. I 100% agree with this. I think that the media markets, I absolutely get it. I get that North Carolina is the #1 target of the ACC, by the way. I'm not that Delulu. I'm not a Miami fan. I don't live in some random, world that I think we're better than anybody else. Although, I mean, I get that the North Carolina market is what everybody wants, but I'm going to say this just as somebody who understands business, who understands finance, because I do have a real job, guys. I don't just do this, podcasting. I do have a real job. I think North Carolina is overvalued right now, and I think it's going to hurt whoever pays them way too much money. I don't think they're going to get the returns they think they will with North Carolina. I don't think they will at all, especially with Virginia. But again, I get the conversation. I'm saying with my job, I look at numbers. I'm a finance person. That's what I do. It's just not going to work out the way you think it is. Please see Syracuse in the ACC if you don't believe me. Again, cool. I get it. But I think, God, I feel bad right now. I'm being mean. I feel like I'm being mean.
Well, I mean, you're feeling it right now as a Florida State person. You've been attacked. You didn't get to play in the playoff. I mean, your last 4 months have been a disaster, frankly. So I just think that just comes with it. There's a lot of emotion tied to that, right? So I'm not saying you're totally right or totally wrong. I'm just saying it's okay what you're going through. That's what
I feel like I'm being mean to all these other teams, but I feel like they should understand why we want out.
Well, you got to realize you're their ticket, though. Right?
I know. And I understand that my tweets calling them welfare schools was me.
Okay. We didn't
I
do
had
that.
no idea that you even did that till now.
That wasn't something we did, Jen.
I did.
Okay. All right. That's very good.
If I could put this one way real quick for you, and then I'm going to go back to shutting up. Don't look at this necessarily as like they're trying to keep you from doing it. What I think they're actually trying to do is they know it's going to happen. They just want to get as much out of Florida State as they possibly can.
Which they've done for 33 years.
That's to me is what's going on.
No offense. No offense.
They're just trying to make sure that the negotiated exit is as high as possible. So that's what's going on.
I mean, I absolutely get it, and I get wanting all the money. I'm totally for Florida State paying the $500 million to just get the hell out. And I was for it 2 years ago. I was for it. I mean, the ACC is such a joke. It's so poorly run. But again, because of those reasons, I think that's a reason why Florida State's going to stick with the lawsuit. They're not going to listen to me. I'm nobody. I think they're going to stick with the lawsuit because I think the ACC was so poorly run. Florida State's going to get out for cheap, and Florida State's got cheap.
It just depends on how long they want. I'm sorry. It just depends on how long they want to go. Go ahead.
All I was going to say is there is a distinguishing line here, right? You have the fan part, then you have the corporate part, if you want to call it that, for the university. And they're the ones getting all the legal advice.
Yep.
And after talking to Danielle, after talking to Doug, it's obvious to me they think their case just gets better day by day.
I agree.
It's better. So,
you know, I saw a breakdown by an attorney, and Nathan, maybe I'll send it to you. He's like a Duke alumni.
Okay.
He
might be one I started following yesterday, but go ahead. Yeah, send it to me.
McKenzie, is that the name?
Doug McKenzie, does that sound
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, send me the tweet and we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But what I'm saying is you have different lawyers. I mean, again, with the law, you have different lawyers have different opinions depending on how they interpret the law, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy had these series of tweets. There's all these ACC fans going, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And I have yet to see multiple attorneys have the same opinion, which makes me question what he's saying, because you can have people that are not even like, I've seen Florida attorneys, New York attorneys, some North Carolina attorneys that are like, yeah, this is just over. You know, like Florida State's probably going to get away with like a good settlement, you know, whatever. And then this guy comes out with this and he's like, Florida State's not going to win. I mean, I've really never seen such a stark difference in an analogy or, you know, an analysis with legal issues. I've just never seen it. And then you have him going, oh no, this is great. This is great. This is great for the ACC. And I'm going, I just don't see it that way. Am I reading it wrong?
It's very similar to the Oregon State, Washington State stuff that was going on with the PAC. And we had people who were making legal arguments for one side and people were making legal arguments for the other side. And both sides are making good arguments, and both sides thought we're absolutely right and they're absolutely wrong. There's no way these guys win. And then reality happened in court. It's going to happen the same way here. So when I see a lot of these legal arguments, they're fun to watch, but you got to remember, lawyers aren't necessarily always arbiters of the truth. They're arbiters of an argument, and they will make an argument for the side that they believe in and what they believe, but it doesn't always mean they're right. So I've seen the guy, he makes a great argument and maybe he's right, or maybe he just makes a really good argument.
He can elucidate it so people can understand it. His communication is amazing. Yeah. So that's what stuck out to me. Doug is really good at it. Danielle's fantastic. I've taken
she's amazing
and put it into stuff that we can understand.
Hey, hey guys, I think George is in the chat and it's his birthday. Can you say happy birthday to George?
Oh, happy
birthday.
Happy birthday, George.
Happy birthday. Did you tell him about tomorrow night, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay. So just really quick, as we're starting to wrap this up, I just want to let everybody know tomorrow night we're going to do a dual show with Renegade Report, Jen and George and me. And
George is not going to join. He's doing Voice of College Football, but it'll be me.
Well, Yeah, well, Mark maybe is more important than I am. I don't know. Well, hey, you're always welcome, George. If we're still on, you can always join us.
I think
But
you'd
yeah,
love
that's
it.
tomorrow night. That's tomorrow night at 8:00 Eastern, just so everybody knows. Let's get to this super chat really quick, and then we're gonna wind this down. Tony Lawson for $2 says, who has a lot of natties? And then a guy's thinking, who's he talking about there, guys?
Fat ground squirrels.
Minnesota. For those that don't know, Tony Lawson is a
Were we
Minnesota
talking about
grad.
hockey here?
He's talking national
Talking about
championships. I don't think
Hey,
it was
Minnesota
Is-
football was something before electricity, guys.
Like
Dang
in the
right, it
40s?
was.
Is this Flugar's burner account?
No, no, I don't think
No.
so. We've had them
No,
both
no.
on before. I don't think so.
I'm joking.
guess.
I'm joking. I'm really
Right.
joking.
Thanks, Tony. We appreciate that super chat. All right, guys, let's just sort of go around the horn. We have got literally there are so many comments. I just
Wait.
I don't
Before
know.
we go around the horn, now we
Go
need to
ahead.
talk about this immaculate. So hoping that you can give
Uh-oh.
some background here too. So with the ACC suit, right, that we were talking about earlier, and the 12 schools that signed off in support of the ACC in the Florida State lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you give a little bit more detail around what's going on there? Because I want to talk about what schools are on what side of the fence real quick. But I want you to give a summary of really what's
All right,
happening.
I'll go before Jen because I think she's about to rip one on this one. This will be a good one. I mean, we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know what schools. All we know is that in their bylaws, for a decision to be made, they need 12 of 15, and that they don't have to give everyone advance notice. So really, just 12 schools could get together, come up with this vote for it, and if they have enough, they can pass it. They don't need the other 3 schools to even be there. And that's what it sounds like happened, that at least Florida State was not there for the vote to approve the amended complaint against Florida State. But we do not know. The numbers have not been released as to who actually voted, who the 12 of the 15 were. There's some speculation that was put out on a show earlier, Greg's show, that I guess he thought Miami
Maybe
voted for
somebody
this.
told him Miami.
Someone told.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
possible.
that's even
So
worse.
Miami was the swing vote.
So
That's
they
what
were
It's
12.
Go ahead, Jen.
it was Miami. It was NC State.
Are you saying this is your opinion, or do you know this?
Wait.
Just curious.
I've
You're
been
talking
told
about the
it.
ACC side, right?
Okay,
The
all right, that's
ACC
fair
side
though.
of the law.
That's fair.
Yeah, I've been told it. I don't know how you can. I'm just saying. I don't. I do have good sources. I haven't like reached out to 5 different ones to confirm. I was told by one it was Miami, it was NC State. And those are the 2 big ones.
Was it all the yes votes for Stanford and California?
Yes.
And so the 2 that were no votes weren't also invited just in case?
Would that be Clemson and Notre
North Carolina.
Dame and North Carolina?
Notre Dame voted yes.
Notre Dame would have voted yes for sure.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State.
So
I have it on good authority that North Carolina voted yes too.
Okay, so that would mean there's possibly more than 12.
I don't know. I mean, I can just tell you what I was told, like the big schools that voted yes or no.
Right.
I can't tell
Okay.
you the small schools.
Gotcha.
Right.
So,
well, we just
I mean-
assume they're yeses. We just assume.
I mean, I assume that too, but you never know. Like
Right.
a Georgia Tech maybe could be like, hey, bring me along, We
That's
don't
true.
know.
That's true.
So who didn't vote yes? Obviously, Florida State.
Florida State, and I think
And
Clemson.
was there anybody else that abstained?
Maybe North
For-
Carolina. Maybe Virginia.
I have not heard anything about Virginia, actually.
Yeah, Virginia's been in the dark for a while, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
week.
They have been so quiet.
disappeared.
And you know what? That brings me to some sort of. I mean, maybe everybody's looking at North Carolina when you should be looking at Virginia.
Virginia, no way. Jen, you're a finance person. There's no way UVA brings value. They don't even, the football program, their brand, weak. They've got basketball. Big
Agreed.
Ten already has the market there in DC. UVA, there's no chance, unless it's a 20% revenue share.
Yeah, no, it was really a joke when I
Took that real
but-
seriously there.
yeah.
The UVA,
I mean-
no.
I just yeah, so I do look, I think the people that voted yes, I think we can all tell who voted yes, and I think we can all tell who voted no, and I think Miami voting yes. Wow.
What do you think?
But I have heard of it. Yeah.
And what's
What
the
do I
after
think?
effect?
What do I think? I think Miami knows where they're going. I think they know where they stand. I think that's why they voted the way they voted.
And what's the risk them losing the game with Florida State if they voted against them?
I don't think there's any risk for Miami. Miami is not a I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to be this is really not a troll. Okay. I know it's gonna sound like one because it's facts, but it's just true. Miami is not really a big program anymore. They were in 1984. They're not now. They have no stadium. It's a mess at Miami and nobody understands it. They run this hospital program that's like running off of weird COVID numbers. It's
What?
look, you can look it up.
Really?
Yeah. It's look, they got COVID grants out the wazoo. It's a mess over there. and nobody is like looking into it. They're not getting it. And there's a reason that assistant coaches don't want to stay there. There is a reason Miami can't come back, right? Yes or no?
I'm not sure we have enough data.
Well, there is a reason, because Ohio State broke them.
You mean
Don't make me become
championship
Ohio
game
State,
20
man.
Years ago?
Come
30 years
on.
ago?
2003.
Yeah, we're not talking. Yeah, Ohio State, Florida State. That was Miami. That was a long time ago.
Well, look, I'm saying there's a reason Miami can't come back, and I think it's because it's very poorly run, and I think everybody knows it.
Someone out there is trying to turn Miami into Oregon. They're working on the brand. They're working on their history. They're working on their messaging. It's out there, right?
It's
Miami
Mario
went from-
Cristobal.
Yeah,
Their recruiting class is like top 5 in the nation right
they're
now.
spending
you know?
like $15 million in NIL a year. They spend the most money. All these things. I'm not
you
saying
guys
it's.
bagging Miami. I'll take
I'm not-
Miami. I'll buy
I'm not-
Miami.
Look,
You guys
we're not
bagging
trying to.
Clemson too. I'll take them both.
We're not trying to change your mind, Jen. We're just stating facts out in the world. The brand-
No, I mean, look,
is-
state the facts. Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter. Guess what he can't do is win big games in game.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Oregon also, the O on their helmet means, what does it mean? How many
0
championships
national
have they won?
champions.
There you go.
0.
There's a reason for all this flash and the pan and all this bullshit. Yes, maybe Oregon is Miami. Miami is very flashy. Nobody gives a shit. Their fans don't even care. Honestly. I had a fan be like, don't you want to be a Miami fan? I was like, no, Miami fans are only on the internet. I'm an actual person, so no, I don't want to be one. Look, now I'm going to seem like I'm being mean to Oregon because I do like Dan Lanning. He was at Memphis. I'm from Memphis. I get it. I think Dan Lanning will leave Oregon in 2 years. I think he'll leave for the Alabama job. I also think the only reason he did not take it this year is because he knew it was going to be open in a couple of years.
2 years.
You don't want to follow the goat.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's
You do
always
not
what
want to follow
happens.
the goat.
Look, Oregon is a nice niche program. They have nothing to show for it. And I don't want to hear about Pac-12 championship. Nobody wants to hear about that because honestly, there's no such thing as Pac-12 anymore. But Oregon I think they could have been so good had they, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Their coaching hires were terrible. I know because we took one and he was horrendous. He didn't even like scheduled walkthroughs, and Oregon's over here trying to fight for this fucker to
Yeah.
keep him. Are you kidding?
All right.
You should have been like giving us awards for taking him.
All right. Let's just leave it there. Okay.
Sorry.
Don't apologize. You're very
My bad.
entertaining. No, we don't care. It's okay. It's all right.
Hey, Jen, where can people find you at?
Yeah. Oh, let me get. Oh, by the way, I want to announce it so everybody knows.
Yes.
BYU beat Kansas in Kansas
Nice win.
by 8
Bummer.
points on the road. That BYU is the most schizophrenic basketball team.
The question that really matters, though, is did BYU fans storm their court?
Look at it. Check it. There's probably
Did you-
video.
Did you storm their court? This is what matters.
Okay.
There could
so
be enough BYU people there, actually.
can y'all tell me your thoughts on this? Because I feel like I'm absolutely on an island on the thoughts on the court storming. What are your thoughts?
It's
Let them
overrated.
storm the court.
It's
Yeah.
gotten extreme.
Protect
but,
the
I
other
mean,
team with
It's a
extra
history, it's a
security.
tradition, but people are doing it too much. So I don't know where the line is.
But it's only when it happens to a Duke player.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. It's a whole
Yeah.
lot of nothing, I think.
well, that happened with Caitlin Clark too, though, right? She got bumped
It
into.
did. Yeah. And
That
it's
was
not
Ohio
going to
State.
stop.
I mean,
They can
okay, I'm
find
gonna keep.
schools.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut now. Come
Okay. Okay, now your name is up, Jen. Tell everybody where to find you.
Jen Santee, 1890 on Twitter, and by the way, you can find me tomorrow on this show.
Right here. For as long as we can keep her. It's going to be fantastic. I'm so looking forward to tomorrow night. I've been waiting a whole week. Immaculate.
Are you going to go watch Vanderpump tonight, Nathan?
What do you think? I'm trying to get off the
You
team. I'm
better.
trying to get
Oh,
off
I'm
the team.
sorry. Oh my God, that's why you're trying to get off the episode.
That's
He's
why.
like, I gotta go watch
It
Vanderpump.
doesn't start till 11.
Vanderpump
so
on or
okay.
something.
Yeah,
Hell
Vanderpump
yeah.
rules, baby. Vanderpump rules. All right, Immaculate.
You can find me on Twitter X, Immaculate View. We do quite a lot of talk about realignment and some other aspects of college football sports, but also some of the legal aspects that are affecting the NCAA and what we're doing. So if you're enjoying the talk about that when we have it on here, I would say find me on X at Immaculate View and continue the conversation there.
Thank you, Immaculate. Moen, did we get all the super chats?
We did.
Did we get all the new members?
We did.
All right. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me at the G spot, even though Nate doesn't know what that means.
I did say I didn't know. It's not what I said. Holy cow.
Clip it and ship it. I'm sorry.
Holy
Oh my
cow. All right. I need to
Okay.
remember to add the mute button to your little box. That's all right. All right. Ute.
Mm,
Congrats on the win, BYU over KU.
Good luck.
Take it.
Can't wait for the big freaking Friday show. So looking forward to that one on Friday, and you guys have a good one tomorrow.
You bet. Absolutely. And I'll sign off. Everybody have a great night. If you're drunk, don't drive. And yeah, turn over to Vanderpump Rules in 20 minutes. Love y'all. We see you later and stay out of trouble. Bye-bye. Peace. There, peace.